Welcome to episode 017 of the Beacon broadcast. It's January 16th, 2024. I'm here, and so is
Ravenheart.
And I'm Kodaks. And we're going to jump right into our usual first topic. What have we been playing? What have we been buying? You got anything for us this week?
So I was playing Scarlet 2 nights ago.
Pokemon Scarlet,
yeah,
right?
Pokemon Scarlet. And I did this 7-star Blaziken raid.
Nice.
Super easy with the Belly Bolt build.
Yeah.
It was great. It was actually enjoyable.
Yeah?
Like, some of them aren't, just because how difficult they are.
Yeah. I did that 7-star raid too. Did you follow that video I sent you?
I did,
try
yeah.
to?
I did.
Did it go anything like the video did for you?
Not at all.
Me either. It went completely awry almost immediately.
I kept the same ideas in mind that video was trying to convey. I started with, what was it? Not Reflect. I think Chilling Water first and then Reflect, and then Chilling Water 2 more times, and then I tried to use Acid Spray. In the end, I was just like Parabolic Charge would just
spam it.
I don't need all this other stuff.
Did you have an Intimidate user on your team?
On the one that I finally win.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
That helps a lot.
Yeah,
because every time they faint,
it almost feels like it makes or breaks.
This time I did it, I didn't have an Intimidate user. So
Really?
it was so down to the wire when I did it.
It's a huge difference then, because I had maybe a third of the whole time bar left.
Yeah, because if you don't have an Intimidate user from one of the NPC players, then you are having to reduce its attack with Chilling Water.
Yeah, right.
And so for me, I fainted I fainted twice, I think. And then it got... I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, but like a pencil lead left on the meter, you know?
Right, yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. The guy who did that video...
Osiris, I think is on YouTube. He has great guides every week for 7-star raids.
That's how you do it. So his plan involved fainting.
At least once.
At least once.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like Parabolic Charge heals you,
right?
And you don't need to faint, and so I
don't. Yeah, if you have the Intimidate user, you can get away with not fainting, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I figured that out.
Yeah.
After I won my second run.
I had reset the raid multiple times trying to find an Intimidate teammate. And that's when I say an Intimidate teammate, I mean a Pokemon. These NPC party members that you team up with to take on these raids when you play solo. Some of them have like a Pokemon that knows Intimidate, like Arcanine.
Yeah.
So every time...
And Tauros is the other one. And
Tauros.
It is possible to get both.
Yeah. Oh, that's the dream.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
the dream, right.
So every time they faint, when they get sent back out, their ability is Intimidate, which lowers the opposing Pokemon's attack stat by 1 degree or whatever.
1 degree, yeah. And Blaziken has... the 7-star Blaziken has... Swords Dance and one other move that greatly boosts its attack, and so it's easily like doing away with your work that you just did.
So if you're not reducing its attack at all, then its attack stat is max. It's like 3 times what it normally is, and it'll basically be one-shotting you or close to it.
Exactly. And so I just hit Parabolic Charge a bunch of times. But yeah, I won. In addition to that, I did an Outbreak for Yellow Squawkabilly.
Okay.
Got my shiny.
You got it.
Got it. And then I made my way to the forest in the Kitakami region.
Oh, okay.
Finally. I haven't done looks like there's going to be a Pokemon Snap style.
There is kind of something
photo.
like that, yeah.
I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
We'll see how it compares to the new Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, it's not quite like that, but I thought it was interesting, and It kind of reminded me of like the side quest that you would kind of get in Legends Arceus. I mean, it was a little more interactive, and I was kind of hoping that there would be more of those in the DLC. Unfortunately, it's the only one of its kind. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be cool. It took me a long time just to get to the forest because I had to try to find like a shiny Slugma and catch that and try to catch a coughing.
You're getting distracted by the outbreaks.
Of course. Coughing in the game, dude, I have to mention. It knows explosion and memento. Coughing, trying to catch a coughing, it's like coughing the suicide Pokemon.
Right.
It's just killing itself every time.
So you find the shiny, I assume?
No, I didn't. I didn't find a shiny coughing. I have enough shiny coughing.
Okay, I was gonna say.
But
you just wanted to catch one.
I just wanted to catch one and add it to the Pokedex.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like 2 suicide moves, and I think one of the other
Honestly, you just got to quick ball it. If it doesn't capture, just run and then quick ball it again.
What I did was give my Gengar that I run around with Shadow Punch, because every other move was killing it. And then Explosion does nothing to it.
Okay.
And then, because it's resistant to normal. And then Shadow Punch kind of leaves it with like 25%. And I just need coughing to not use a suicide move. And then I can catch it. And that's how I got it. But yeah, I'm a roundabout thinker.
See, I don't really like to use quick balls. But if I'm just doing it for Pokedex completion's sake, I mean, why not, I guess?
I mean, quick balls they're cool.
They're cool, but they're just easy.
Yeah, that's true.
They're kind of easy mode. So it's like you, I don't want it to be too easy. I don't want it to be like too... Like, especially if it's a Pokemon I'm going to use.
Right.
It's like a lot of people have their Pokemon in quick balls.
Right.
So let me use something a little more interesting.
Yeah.
100%. I wanted to mention the 7-star raids. For those of you that don't know, maybe once or twice a month, depending on the time, the Pokemon Company releases this special limited time, like usually it's like 3 or 4 days it's available. These ultra difficult 7-star raids. Kind of, you think Pokemon Go, it's almost like an EX raid or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you really got to have like,
a strategy, a team strategy almost.
I mean, usually in Pokemon Go, you can just kind of overwhelm it if you have 20 players.
Right.
But like if you're doing it with just like 3 or 4 friends, then you got to have like, a strategy in mind.
Mega evolutions and stuff.
So yeah, what happens is these 7-star raid come out, and if you try to do it with randoms online, it's usually a mess. People are dying every other second. So people have resorted to trying to figure out a way to do it on your own as a solo player with the AI-controlled NPC partners. And much like Rick, I'm also the same kind of mind. I would rather not deal with randoms online. Right. I mean, it's fun if you're doing it with friends.
I find that works out better. Actually, to tell you the truth, the Hisuian Deoxys, I think it was. Or no, it was either Hisuian Deoxys or...
I don't know, you're talking about the...
Decidueye or Hisuian Typhlosion.
Yeah.
I relied on...
Oh, you went online?
Yeah.
Well, because what happens is after a certain point, people have figured out the strategy, and like people...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. Like, it actually works out better.
But if you're trying to do it when it first comes out...
Yeah. No one, like, human players know what's going on.
Because what happens is people want to farm the raid for all the rewards that you get.
Right.
Because you get a lot of Terra Shards and things like that.
One of them, one of the recent ones, I think, it was one of the Hisuian ones. The build that the internet agreed upon, was a Dockspun. And it was that one. Right. I went on, and it was, I think, the last day, or it was going to expire in like 3 hours. It was going to go away, and because I had already failed like 5 times, I went on and just for the hell of it, just saw if anyone could help me online. All of them had Dockspuns. They were ready to go. They killed it for me. All I did was like throw defense cheers. Right. And yeah, I got it.
See, at least you're helpful.
Right.
It's like don't die.
Yeah.
And, just support the people who know what they're doing.
Exactly.
If you're going to come in and not be like with the bright build useful, and stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, so those are better in the later seasons of of the lifespan of the 7-star raid.
Okay.
But yeah, I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed the Blaziken one. Other ones I haven't.
Right. So I'm guessing we're gonna soon be seeing Septile, or do you say Skeptile?
Skeptile.
You say Skeptile.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always said Septile.
Yeah.
And then what's Mudkip's final evolution? It's escaping me. Swampert. So I presume we're going to be seeing the two of them.
All three of them.
As 7-star raids pretty soon. And why bother with the 7-star raid? Well, for the rewards. The rewards are generally pretty good. You always get one really rare item called an ability patch that lets you change your Pokemon to its hidden ability. I think it's the only
way to get it, right?
I think there might be like one obtainable in the base game somehow or something like that. Or it's a possible reward from doing the school competition after you beat the game.
Gotcha.
But when you capture the Pokemon, it has a special mark that only these 7-star Pokemon can get called the Mightiest Mark.
Similar to a ribbon.
Yeah, you apply it the same way you do a ribbon. It's coded into the game the same way a ribbon is coded in. And so I've kind of made it a goal to collect as many of these as I can.
I've missed 2 so far.
Yeah.
And one I was on top of but just couldn't beat.
I might have one of them that you didn't miss. Sometimes I do the raid on both my save files, but because you can only capture this Pokemon once. You can continue to do the raid, but you can't capture it more than one time.
Mine were Mewtwo and Iron Bundle. Both of those I missed.
I may have done Mewtwo a second time.
Okay.
That was a fun raid because everyone was using Mew, and it was kind of like this.
Right.
I don't know. It had this sort of like very anime feel to it, like, you know.
Yeah.
Because there's this special effect where Mew gets powered up when you're like fighting it.
I regret missing it, but I think I was on vacation or something. Oh,
okay. Might come back. Pokemon Day next month, so no doubt there will be some celebratory stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they just repeat all these at least once.
I think so. I think what'll happen is they'll eventually stop, and then they'll just be like, "Okay, we're just gonna repeat all the ones we've done."
Yeah.
So hopefully you can still get the couple that you missed.
Right.
All right, so I've also been playing a lot of Scarlet and Violet, specifically. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. But last Thursday, I think it was, the epilogue to the Scarlet and Violet DLC dropped, which essentially served as sort of a wrap-up of the game completely, but also a new story where your old friends from the base game meet some of the new friends you made in the DLC, and you guys discover like a new mythical Pokemon together. So instead of debuting the mythical Pokemon in like a movie or something like they seemingly do, they actually gave you, and you just download it, you know?
Yeah.
They actually gave like a whole like story sequence, which was pretty cool. The story, it's a little silly, but also kind of frightening when you think about it at the same time. I won't spoil it for you. It's cool. But you know, by the end of it, I was just like, I was kind of sad because it was like, okay, like that's it. There's no more. Like this is it. This is easily the best. I feel the best like friend cast that we've had in a Pokemon game in a long time.
Are you talking just the epilogue, or
no, just overall Scarlet and Violet. Like usually, you know, every Pokemon game, you know, you usually have your rival, and then you usually have like a couple friendly sort of characters that, like, you have a small friend group. Like in Sun and Moon there was a little group, and Sword and Shield there was a little group.
Oh, even in like Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah. X and Y had like a really big had like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
And in Scarlet and Violet kind of did something too. Anyways, I think it's just the best cast that they've ever had together. And it's kind of a bummer to like, that's it, you know. But one thing that was exciting to me about the DLC is that it unlocked the last 3 in-game trades part of the new DLC, where you get to do a trade with Arvin, Penny, and
those 3.
What's the girl's name? Nimona. Yeah, so you got to do trades with them, and so after that, over the break, I finished up a bunch of Gen 3 and 4 trades that I still had outstanding, and Gen 5. And now that I've got these 3 trades, I have collected every single in-game trade from every generation of games, 1 through 9.
And that's including the Japanese green version.
Including the Japanese green version, which does have trades that are exclusive to it.
Yep.
So for that, I had to get a Japanese 3DS. I had to buy the Japanese green version. I had to get Pokemon Bank. I had to subscribe for 500 yen just to get the Poke Transporter app to download. And I had to play through the whole game in Japanese, basically, which isn't too hard because you can find online when, Pokemon learn certain moves and things like that. You just got to make sure you don't accidentally, delete, Razor Leaf or something, and then you have, Tackle as your only option to attack.
I'm sure going through the PC and stuff and menus and stuff.
It was pretty familiar because I had played, the classic game so many times. And so every in-game trade, that was a long-term goal of mine, and now it's done. And now I think my next big goal for my collecting ambitions.
Okay, a couple questions about that. First, in Gold and Silver, are you including the Pidgey that you receive not as a trade but as a gift that's holding mail?
Okay, it wasn't a Pidgey, it was a Spearow,
that's right.
I think.
You're right.
But okay, so I don't count those as trades, but they are other trainers' Pokemon. So I do have that one.
Okay. Are they in the same collection?
They're in the same box, but they're separated by empty space in the box.
Okay.
So I don't really have a box for those. I just kind of have them as part of it. Because in Gold and Silver, there's multiple. I think there's 2 things that are like that, and even in Pokemon Coliseum, there's this guy who gives you a Togepi or something like that for you to hey, cure its shadow or whatever for me, or can you help? And you're supposed to give it back to him, and then he gives you a Pokemon in return. So what?
You got to play through it twice.
Yes.
And keep the Togepi once, and then get
exactly. So what I actually did when I replayed Coliseum a few years ago is I made 2 separate save files, and I did the thing where I kept it and then I traded it off to my game, and then I went back to the other save file, and that happened before, and I gave it back to him so I could get the other Pokemon. So rather than playing through it twice, I just kind of...
So what about standalone, what do you call them, event, in-game... static Pokemon, I guess is what they're called.
Just the ones that are in the wild?
Yeah.
I don't consider those trades.
Right.
I mean, those are generally reserved for, legendary Pokemon for the most part.
I mean...
Or do you mean, the Eevee sitting on the table and Celadon?
Yeah, kind of. The ones that just have a scripted stat and, build, where there's no...
Give me a specific example. I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
Okay, well, right now, so in Gold and Silver, there's the Electrodes, right?
Yes.
There's a bunch of those.
Okay.
So maybe that's that example. Okay, the part of the game that I just played, the Arados that runs up to you when you get to the forest is, it's just a wild Arados.
Right.
But it is, it's... a specific Arados.
I don't know that its stats are scripted, though.
You sure?
I don't believe they are. I think you could catch it over and over again, and the stats would be different. I think there's just an encounter with a Raredos, and then the game
it just generates an Raredos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, is that something I could see someone collecting? Definitely.
Yeah.
I could see someone wanting to get every Electrode in Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Yeah.
Me, not so much. There was a time where I did look at the cot location in the games as okay, you can only get this Pokemon one time in this location or something. But then as you move them...
Lapras in Gold and Silver.
Right. But as you move them to other games, that cot location information goes away.
Right. Yeah.
It's not visible anymore, so I kind of soured on bothering with that.
Gotcha. I'm just curious what your position is.
So I think my next big collecting goal is something that you've already been doing, But I want to go back and actually do it. But I want to get all the male-female differences. Yeah. So the gender different Pokemon. So especially generations 1 through 4, there's a lot of
I don't bother with ones that aren't gender different. That's just
right.
But the ones that are, I'm gonna make the argument, and I was gonna tell you this. Legends Arceus, its in-game Pokedex calls them quote different forms.
Right. No, I they are.
Yeah, even if it is just a dot on
Torchic's behind.
Like, that's a different form according to Legends Arceus.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to go. I mean, I have a lot of this already, especially with like my Pokemon Go stuff. I don't think it would be that hard for me to clear a lot of that up. It's just going to take some time, and I got to figure out how I want to personally arrange it in home. But that reminds me, I was reading online this discussion I was seeing where people were talking about how they have their Pokemon arranged in home. Like, and these are like, people who kind of take that really seriously the same way we kind of do. But I saw some like extreme examples where people will have, like, let's say Bulbasaur, right? So Bulbasaur, male and female. So they have Bulbasaur male and female, right?
Yeah.
But then they want Bulbasaur male and female with each of its natures.
Yeah,
so now they have 6 Bulbasaurs.
Yeah.
And that's before they get into shiny.
Right.
So then they want 12 Bulbasaurs.
You could keep doing that. My issue with that, because I've thought about that. And my issue with it is that there is no end to that. You could go from nature to every location that it can be caught,
right,
to every original level, like there's just there's no end.
I think it's got to stop at physical characteristics.
Yes, for me it's the physical artwork, the physical sprite or 3D model being different somehow, even if it is a dot,
right,
in the case of Torchic and in the case of like Sinistea, basically, that constitutes a different visual representation.
So I like my Pokedex the way, or my living Pokedex the way I have it set up, but I do think I want to have some separate boxes for all the gender different Pokemon that I don't have featured in my primary living dex, so to say.
For me, it's one big giant Pokedex tapestry.
Yeah, I look at it as like, if I want to easily transfer my Pokemon to my game to like help fill in slots.
Oh yeah, there's downsides to what I'm doing. Yeah, for sure.
Then moving it around is like, it's just, it's a little too much for me.
It's all about the final presentation.
Oh yeah, and that's gonna be glorious.
Yeah,
right. No doubt. But
if I want to be crazy too, I can number the box or name the boxes. 1 through.
Oh, see, I do that.
Yeah. The thing is, you got to change all that. If you have to scoot.
Oh, see, that's why I only have
I'm
one.
talking about like my model.
I mean, you already just having to like every time. Oh, Sandshrew got a new form. Now I have to move 800 Pokemon over one slot.
I totally get off to that. I love doing it. I love playing with that stuff. And
oh my god! But the hours of work involved.
But it's that.
And then if you make one mistake.
Yeah. Well, my collection's beyond the point where that's even like possible. There's enough filled in to where I'm like, okay, some goes here. There's one empty space here.
So where I'm drawing the line is where I want it to get to is I have one of every Pokemon, not gendered, just 1 through 1,000, all lined up. 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4.
Right.
And then I have all the alternate forms in a box. I have all the region different Pokemon. Okay, I have a question for you actually.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Do you consider the Pidgey we all know and love to be Cantonian Pidgey?
Was there another form of Pidgey?
No.
Okay,
but no, let's say Pidgey gets another form.
Yeah.
Is Pidgey now Cantonian Pidgey? I don't buy into that.
Okay.
Because Pidgey has appeared all over the world of Pokemon as a standard form.
Well, we're seeing that shift too with the Hisuian ones being present in Kitakami, right?
In the wild, I don't think
or
so.
No Galar Pokemon present.
Oh yeah, definitely Pokemon from Gen 8 are in Gen 9.
Right.
Like Squovit, for example.
Right, but Galar forms, I mean. They're not in the wild anywhere in Scarlet and Violet. Yes or no?
What's a Galar form?
Like Galar Mr. Mime.
Oh, Galarian Mr. Mime in Scarlet and Violet.
Right. I mean, that one's not in there.
No, but in the new DLC, they have these like synthetic biomes, right? Mm-hmm. And you do see a lot of the sun and moon forms featured in there.
The Alolan forms.
The Alolan forms.
Like in the wild? Like
in the wild, but remember, we're dealing with a manufactured wild. So basically, they like put those Pokemon there, and then they grew into the environment.
I gotcha.
And it's suitable for them.
The reason I would maybe for story canonicity purposes consider Cantonian Pidgey is only because it was discovered in Kanto first. You know.
Well, see, I never bought into that either. Just because Kanto's the first game doesn't mean the world was only as big as Kanto.
Right. Kanto could be younger than Hisui, which it probably is. You know, and other regions have existed prior to it. It just the games have started with Kanto, and I totally get what you're saying there.
Yeah, because I see people saying like, "Oh, Cantonian Sandshrew," and I'm like, "That's
that's not exclusive to Kanto."
Yeah, that's featured in naturally in all kinds of environment or in all kinds of regions.
That is general Sandshrew.
Yeah, that's just Sandshrew.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't look at all of the original Pokemon as the Cantonian form. Yeah.
No, that doesn't make sense because then you would have to say, you know, like Shinoian, what Piplup? No, that's Gen 5. No, it's Gen 4.
Yeah, it's Gen 4. So then that's Sinnoh Piplup.
Sinnoian Piplup.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, Piplup doesn't have a new
no, it doesn't.
Right.
But neither does Pidgey.
Right.
So who's saying that?
I see people online refer to it as Cantonian, you know, or like, let's look at Sandshrew, like we mentioned. Sandshrew does have a new form.
Right.
The Alolan Sandshrew, made of ice Sandshrew. And there's regular, and I hear people say Cantonian Sandshrew.
I think that's incorrect.
Okay. I'm glad we're on the same page there. Let's move on. I did buy one thing this last week. I think it's getting delivered today. It might be in my mailbox right now. I saw this discussion online about how a lot of first-party Nintendo titles, like the Link's Awakening remake, Metroid Dread, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, several other titles, you can't find them at retailers. Like on their websites, the listings are gone or they're marked as like sold out, and it's almost universally across the board.
Interesting.
And I realized that the Link's Awakening copy I have is the European copy, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
But I have like a ESRB Zelda collection.
You have a thing.
I mean, you can't say you don't, too.
Oh, yeah, of course I do. But I want every region. I'm crazier than you.
Well, I mean, I would love to have every region, but I try to focus my collection on North America, ESRB on the box.
Right.
Like, I want that ESRB logo on the box if I can.
Does that include titles that aren't North American or weren't released in North America? Like,
I mean, if they're not released in North America, then
it's not part of your collection.
No, it would be part of my collection, but like
there would be in addition to the ESRB title.
Yeah, it's like, well, there is no North American version of this, so this is the next best option.
Gotcha.
You know, like Pokemon Typing Adventure for the DS.
So all North America plus.
Gotcha. Yeah, so if like a title only released in Japan, I would like to have that title too.
Right.
I don't consider that like, oh no, that's...
Some people don't collect that.
I mean, I don't want to say I get it, but like I could see, you know, I have a complete ESRB collection, or I have a complete Zelda collection, but it's like, well, I don't count the things that weren't released in my, you know, whatever. I mean, like, I feel like you should have it anyways, even if you don't want to, like...
It's a whole separate title.
Even if you don't want to feature it for whatever reason, you should still have it.
Right. If you're going to call yourself Complete Library. Right. You know.
I mean, I have no problem saying I have the complete ESRB Wii collection. Like, right. Incredible, massive achievement.
That's a lot. That's a lot of games.
Massive achievement. Good for you.
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge them because they don't have every Japanese game that also released.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I picked up Link's Awakening. I found a used copy for $30, or it was $25, but I had to pay a few bucks for shipping, so it ended up being $30. And then it made me start looking at some of these other titles. I'm like, oh man, I don't have. Like some of the ones that are out of print, like Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I'm like, I don't have that one. So now I'm looking at like, oh my, Walmart is the only retailer who still has it in stock.
Really?
It's pretty much full price still.
That's weird.
I mean, like Metroid Dread, it's gone everywhere right now.
So we talked previously about these retailers phasing out physical games.
See, well, this is a Nintendo thing, though. Okay. I don't know that it's a retailer thing. I think Nintendo has stopped sending stock. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we want
to... Here's the thing, though. I don't think it's Nintendo that initiates. I think it's the retailer that requests so many copies, and then Nintendo prints to fill orders.
Okay. Fire Emblem Engage only came out a year ago.
Yeah.
It's it's not in stock at any retailer right now.
Wow.
So I don't know if this is so we could speculate that the retailer... I mean, the retailers are still listing new video games constantly.
Right, yeah.
Nintendo games historically have very long legs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I don't know if Nintendo's having like supply chain issues, or maybe it's sort of like intentional as they're winding down.
Yeah, there's a lot that can be inferred.
Yeah. So there are a few more first-party Nintendo titles coming out this year.
Yeah.
If this is going to keep up, I would not count on them like getting a lot of reprints.
Yeah it's concerning for sure.
Yeah, like the Trace Memory collection comes out this Friday. And that's already a super niche title. Beyond its first printing. I wouldn't expect.
Do you have that on pre-order with
I don't think so. I usually only help you when there's like collector's editions or something.
All right, dude, if you don't mind, could you please just pre-order me a copy?
All right, well, I'll see what I can do.
All right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering is it more like maybe their supply are changing over to Switch 2 stuff?
Yeah, we can think about this from the perspective of a new console coming.
Maybe there's a component shortage or something.
Yeah, we could think of it in terms of shortages. We could think of it in terms of push toward digital. We could think about it in terms of retailers getting rid of games. There's a lot of things that
I mean, but like we've said earlier, there's no way Nintendo is like the first one to be like, we're out of physical games.
No, I don't think so. They're not the leaders in that direction.
No, they'll be the last one to cross that finish line.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if there's some intention. I don't know if they're just trying to divert attention away from that right now because maybe they are prepping for an announcement.
Yeah.
If we look at the original Switch, there was only like 2 months in between announcement and like
launch
in people's hands.
Yeah.
So
they might be going for that again. Maybe, I would expect it. Because if they do that for the Switch and then, they announce the Switch 2 or whatever this is, and then a year goes by and no one has it yet, that's not going to work out. They need to match what they did with the Switch.
So I mean, I don't know, this could be nothing. We could see all these games come back into stock in 2 weeks,
right? Yeah, and it was a whole nothing burger.
Yeah,
but this is a story in my opinion.
Yeah, it has the potential to mean something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you're on the fence about any, you can still get used copies at reasonable prices, sub MSRP. Right. So it's not like these games are worth $100 now because they're not being sold at retailers.
Right, yeah.
But
you could go to Book Off and probably find any one of these.
Yeah, but if there's something you have your eye on, maybe think about, it's kind of one of those things where you got to speculate. Do I want to grab it now or do I want to pay $100 for it, in 6 months?
Right, yeah.
So if you're trying to complete, your Nintendo published collection,
or if you have extra funds for capital for investing, grab a few copies.
If you want to speculate, go right ahead.
They will. I mean, they're not going to go down.
Probably not.
Like,
no.
these stocks don't go down, boys.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, Nintendo first-party games generally hold their value. There are some... They do occasionally have a little flop here and there.
Right.
But generally speaking, that doesn't happen that often.
No.
Yeah. What have we been up to?
For me, working and trying to just get myself back into working on Seraphim, which means preparation on my part.
Okay.
So getting my workspace organized again, because I let that just get overgrown, and getting my file system and stuff like that in place. My previous art projects, more pet projects, getting those wrapped up and put away so that I have no distractions.
I think it would be fun. Well, maybe not fun, but I think it would be interesting if maybe as you really got back into development, we start talking about that on a weekly basis. Just do a little 5-minute check-in.
I think we will be.
Okay.
Yep.
So maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll get that going.
Yep, definitely. No, 100%.
I haven't been up to much of anything, but I do have something coming up soon that's kind of related.
One other thing.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I don't mean
No,
to
go
cut
for
you
it.
off. I do have one other thing going on. And I can't talk about it too much, but it's a developer event, that webinar that I'll be attending with one of the console holders. I'm not going to just name on a podcast.
They're not going to name it, but I mean, if they know anything about you, they could probably figure out who you are already in bed with, so to say.
Regardless, it's
might even be wearing their shirt right now.
In fact, I am. It's an online Q&A for developers with the console holder and their experts, for talking about code.
How soon is that?
That will be later this month.
Okay.
So
in the next week or two?
It will be in about 15 days.
Okay. So it's not going to really be something you can probably talk about.
No, I probably won't. But just...
Maybe you could sort of nebulously speak.
Yeah, I'll have to just talk in code. But it's something I'm getting back into. I just reinstated my partner.
Well, okay.
Account.
So answer me this question: do you have a relationship with Nintendo in terms of being a developer for them?
Not currently. I actually did get licensed for the Wii U, but...
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Xbox?
No.
What about PlayStation?
Wait, we're not doing this. What are you doing?
Well, it's something you've talked about on the podcast.
Yeah, I know,
before.
but I'm trying to be
I don't know how
nebulous.
discreet you really have to be. Okay. So, anything else you want to say on that topic?
That's it. I have that going on.
So yeah, I haven't been up to much of anything related to the world of that we discuss
gaming.
But I do have an upcoming event, not this coming weekend, but I believe the weekend after. It is the Digimon Trading Card World Championships in Los Angeles.
Right.
Now I'm not involved with the Digimon Trading Card world at all.
I'm surprised you're going to this.
Well, okay, I know you don't particularly care for Digimon. I have an affinity for it.
I mean, I am it looks nostalgic to me.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
I have an affinity for it. And last year, they had an event, I think it was in February, at the convention center as part of some finals for the trading card game. But they had a little side museum. And they brought the Ken Sugimori of Digimon essentially with them to do a signing.
That's cool.
So the guy who basically did almost all of the old art and still does Digimon art today.
The poor man's Ken Sugimori.
I mean, say what you want to say. I mean, but whatever. I respect the heck out of the guy, and I wasn't gonna miss my chance. Well, first of all, the museum thing was really cool. They had over 200 huge, massive framed pieces of art, mostly stuff from the trading card game.
Right.
But there's sort of a museum element to it. They gave out these really nice guidebooks, and some other goodies, and then they had the signing with essentially one of the fathers of Digimon, and he did little doodles for people if they brought a a Shikishi board or something like that for them.
That's pretty cool. I I don't hate Digimon. At least not like I did in middle school.
Yeah, there was definitely like it was almost like you had to be one or the other back then.
Oh yeah. Well, Digimon was clearly just a rip-off of Pokemon from your perspective in middle school. Like
from your perspective as a kid, yeah, it definitely did seem like
what okay, there's this one successful thing, and then there's this other thing that's similarly named and similarly like formatted.
Right. Like Kids and Monsters,
right.
You know, like
what am I supposed to think here?
I mean, I think in Japan, I might be wrong about it predating Pokemon, but like they came up together.
Yeah.
You know.
I gotcha.
Digimon is sort of a spin-off of Tamagotchi.
Oh, okay.
Not exactly, but like it came birth.
Makes sense.
It came birth from the pet monster in like a little portable digital
creature.
And this guy who created a lot of the Digimon, he got his start as like the Tamagotchi artist.
Okay.
So like he's got like a whole other like legacy behind him as well.
That makes sense.
They're both Bandai.
I remember Tamagotchis.
Yeah.
Those things were everywhere. Everyone had one.
Yeah. Oh, I loved them.
But I will say that I do like I like the art of Digimon and stuff. It looks good and it looks nostalgic.
For me, like I mean, I enjoyed the anime. I thought, honestly, if I'm being honest, I thought the anime was better than Pokemon.
Really?
Pokemon, I felt, had a lot of filler.
Yeah.
Like, just nothing happening.
Yeah, but you still love to see Ash and Pikachu and all the people in
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I was there for it. But, like, as soon as Pokemon was over, I was switching over to Fox.
Would go back and watch the Digimon anime. I know...
It went harder.
I know squat about it.
The stakes were higher.
Yeah.
Like, stuff happened. You know, like, every episode, like, there was drama.
Right.
You know? Like, people were, like, in life and death situations.
More, like, saving the world type of goals rather than I want to be a master.
Yeah. Now, not that Pokemon did in that time have some, like, high-stakes stuff going on. The SS Hand sinking and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, Pokemon, it was a lot of like, oh, you know, we're walking towards the next city for 50 episodes.
And here's this fictional location that doesn't exist en route between these two cities that we just made up for this one episode.
The Pokemon manga is a lot like that, too.
Yeah.
It's got, like, just stuff that doesn't really fit into the overall continuity of what we consider to be, like, the canon kind of thing.
Right.
But,
I mean, yeah, I would go with you if I had time for that.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot out of it. I know there's not going to be this cool signing meet and greet thing at this championship. I'm just going to go for a few hours, get my free swag, and, you know, just check it out.
That's cool.
You know, maybe something cool happens while I'm there. I have no idea.
That's cool. Grab me a Digimon card. Just one.
I know they are giving, like, special promo to like if you show up for it. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I don't know if I can get extra, but you know, I'll see what I can do.
Dope.
All right, so we're gonna jump into a couple news topics. This first topic is about layoffs at both Twitch and our old pal Unity. But first, let's talk about Twitch. Twitch, the online streaming platform.
You know what Twitch is.
Yeah, for creators.
It is a streaming platform supposedly, allegedly for gaming.
It's gotten, maybe it's lost sight of that a little bit.
Just a little.
I mean, I think Twitch Amazon, I should say, wants money from Twitch.
Yeah,
so
that's true,
That's
right. That kind of did start when Amazon bought Twitch.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
Yeah, they kind of opened up. I mean, you can do our real life streaming now where you sit in a hot tub and you know,
or body paint yourself naked. You know.
Yeah. Twitch has had all kinds of weird growing pains over the last several years. But what we're here to specifically talk about is that they're laying off 500 of their staff, which is roughly 1/3 of its workforce. Imagine going to the office and 1/3 of your coworkers are just gone.
Yep.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
So Twitch CEO Dan Clancy shared the news with the Twitch team.
These layoffs are big news. Like, this is not just, layoffs again. Like, they're cutting stupid chunks of the company.
So let's see why he thinks these layoffs are justified here. So we have a statement. I've taken a few pieces from it. and we'll just kind of go one at a time and talk about each bit.
Sounds good.
So he starts off by saying, "Team, today I have some incredibly difficult news to share. As you all know, we have worked hard over the last year to run our business as sustainably as possible. Unfortunately, we still have work to right-size our company, and I regret having to share that we are taking the painful step to reduce our headcount by just over 500 people across Twitch. This will be a very hard day. Our service exists to empower communities to create together, and every single one of you has played a vital role in fostering our community and furthering that mission."
I like that word, right size. I've never heard that word before.
I think it's usually used with like ships.
Oh, okay.
Like we need to like.
I mean, it makes sense
like
not
you
to say
capsize, you right size.
It makes sense not to say downsize or upscale or whatever, because you don't know which direction.
Those are pejorative words.
Right.
Let's use
right size. We're trying to find the target size.
Yeah. Well, he has something else to say about the size of Twitch, and I think the next part of this quote. But this first part is like the standard, sorry team, you've done so much for us.
Right. We owe you so much. You've contributed everything. You've made all these dreams come true.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Exactly.
All right. So next he says, this is the biggest part of the statement. "I know many of you are wondering why this is happening. Over the last year, we've been working to build a more sustainable business so that Twitch will be here for the long run, and throughout the year, we have cut costs and made many decisions to be more efficient. Unfortunately, despite these efforts, it has become clear that our organization is still meaningfully larger than it needs to be given the size of our business. Last year, we paid out over $1 billion to streamers. So while the Twitch business remains strong, for some time now, the organization has been sized based on where we optimistically expect our business to be in 3 or more years, not where we are at today. Mm-hmm. As with many other companies in the tech space, we are now sizing our organization based upon the current scale of our business and conservative predictions of how we expect to grow in the future."
See, I'm no business manager, crazy, god tier executive, but I see a problem in that. That might be your problem, that you're trying to target yourself 3 years from now, when in 3 years you're gonna grow again, or you're gonna upsize again or scale again. So what are you doing? Like, why don't you try to secure the resources that you need today and not what you project yourself to look like 3 years from now?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, so I guess in some way they're sort of taking some of the fault on, like, we grew too much.
Yeah,
and then they also kind of lay into like, oh well, like other tech companies who are also doing layoffs. Mm-hmm. So it's just normal.
Right. Right. Yeah. See. Yeah. That's the thing too. I'm glad you said that. Once one walks through the threshold of laying off 1,000 people, and gets away with it, some negative articles.
Yeah.
Then the others see that and they're like, okay, let's go.
Our turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least they waited till the new year, I guess.
Yeah, good point. They didn't do it during Christmas, like we saw
with Unity.
Yeah.
Who's
next?
Doing another round.
Who's next?
Yeah. I mean, I notice he says in 3 or more years. Like, we're at the size we are in 3 or more years. It's not even saying 3 years. He's just putting out. It could be any number of years. Right.
And that is there just to make him sound like, oh, I'm so ambitious. I'm so forward thinking, and
so. They made a mistake of growing too big.
Right.
Now 500 people's livelihoods are at stake.
Yeah.
And who gets punished?
Not at stake. They're
gone.
They're cut off.
Well, I mean, they got to figure something out quick.
Right.
So who gets punished? Those 500 people, not the guy who hired those 500 people and made the mistake of hiring those 500 people.
They pay for his mistake.
I don't know how much money the Twitch CEO makes. But if I had to guess, his salary is probably like 100 people's salaries.
Yeah. It's at least $1 million. There can't be less than $1 million.
Yeah. This is Bezos bucks we're talking about over here.
Oh, no. That's Bezos bucks is like multiple billions.
No, I mean, he works for Amazon.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
he gets paid.
It's coming out of Bezos's.
Yeah, and I'm sure Bezos isn't happy.
Bezos dollars.
Well, Amazon, it's not just Twitch this week. Amazon, across the board, across all their departments, has started mass layoffs this past week.
Right. Amazon owns Twitch, guys.
Yeah.
We forgot to say that part.
All right, next quote. This decision, while incredibly difficult and painful, is necessary to ensure that we can continue to serve our streamers sustainably without impacting their ability to support their careers on Twitch. Sorry, I can't help but laugh at that.
Yeah, he loves talking about sustaining careers.
Part of what makes this so difficult is the passion that so many of you share for the Twitch community and the hard work you've put into serving our streamers.
Mm-hmm. That's like saying,
like, you're not important.
You did a great job, and you did so much for the community
and the streamers.
Goodbye.
Yeah,
like, you know,
we got to cut you so that we can keep paying the streamers.
Yeah, but you're still sentenced to death.
Yeah,
like, it just why put that in there? That's supposed to. I mean, from because look. Here's my philosophy. The higher off the ground you are, the less your feet are on the ground.
Okay.
You know, like the higher up the food chain you are, the more in the
bigger
clouds.
The fall is.
Yeah. Well, not that too.
Okay.
That's true too. But the more your head is closer to the clouds.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, you don't know how much. You don't know how much a box of cereal costs anymore.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And you don't know what fighting for a box of cereal is like. And that's what I get from this. I think from his perspective, this sounds like a thank you, and I'm saying some good words about you. But from, like, their perspective, this is just insulting. Like, okay, so you acknowledge I did a great job, and you're still cutting my head off.
Yeah.
Like,
and meanwhile, he's probably getting bonuses.
Oh yeah, he's getting a raise
for making these cuts.
Yeah, 100%.
And in the previous statement, they paid over $1 billion out to streamers last year. That's a big number.
That is a big number.
But you know what? It's probably the majority of that probably went to like 1,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, that's how economies work.
Yeah,
you have that upper echelon and
streamers,
and the other 20% goes to everyone else.
Yeah.
So
it's like really 500 people are losing their jobs, so 1,000 people can keep making, I guess, money for themselves and money for Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a club, and there's everyone who's not in the club.
And there's a Twitch club.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and we know who they are. 100%.
I don't know them as much as maybe you do, but
yeah. I'm not gonna start name dropping right now.
Okay.
Not on this story.
Okay. So the final quote from this I want to share, and there was more to this message, but it was mostly like, if you're in America, you're going to be hearing from this person in the next 2 hours, and here's what's going to happen to you. You know.
Yeah.
So this last bit I want to mention is I want to close with my sincerest apology to everyone who's leaving Twitch. You were some of the most talented, committed, and creative people I've ever worked with. Thank you for everything you've done to help us build Twitch and foster our community.
Goodbye.
We are all here because we believe in the power of Twitch and our community. How many times can he say community?
Yeah, for real. He loves that word.
And while our mission is far from over, right now our focus is on taking care of each other. I'm always grateful for how well you all support and show up for one another during our best and most difficult moments.
I love how we always assume that he's the one that wrote this. He's not.
Yeah.
But,
one thing I did want to say is something I didn't put in here, but like in the messages to the staff who were being affected by the layoffs,
right.
They were like, "Oh, we're gonna give you, from when you're getting this message, you'll have 2 hours on Slack where you can message your coworkers and say your goodbyes before we revoke your access."
Wow.
Like, meaning, like, as a gesture of goodwill,
right.
We'll give you a chance to say goodbye. You can't come into the office.
That's nuts. That's
actually considered generous, because I've heard stories of like people waking up and like all their access is revoked. Yeah, and then they were like, what's going on?
And they still don't know.
Yeah, is IT doing some maintenance? Oh no, I've lost my job.
Right. And I don't know. In a way, I almost feel like it's damage control because they don't want them saying anything bad to, disparaging about Twitch or whatever.
Right.
But, I mean, if you want to know who's on Twitch, who's in the club, you look at who gets banned and who gets a slap on the wrist. And who gets their account reinstated after 24 hours and who gets permabanned. That's how you know. I mean,
this is unrelated to the topic at hand.
Yeah. But this is indicative of why Twitch might not be doing great. There's the economy.
Right.
And that's just a thing. But the internet, in a lot of ways, is kind of immune. When you're an online business and your business is a website, like YouTube or Twitch or any social media, you're kind of immune to the economy. People are going to be using your software. Maybe more because more people are unemployed. I don't know. But I'm not an economist. But in the case of Twitch, like, you look at their business practices and not to get too much into like controversies and stuff like that, but there have been a lot on Twitch.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people who have had their Twitch banned wrongfully, perma-banned, wrongful, like something that they should have gotten banned for a week or 2 weeks.
Right.
They get perma-banned.
Yeah. And
then there are people who do the exact same thing or worse and get let back on 24 hours later. And it's clear as day and everyone sees it.
Right. Well, if you're making Twitch a lot of money, it's their incentive to give you a slap on the wrist and then you come back a day later and continue making the money.
Or you're pushing any kind of like direction that they want to go in or something like that.
Yeah, maybe they send you a message say, hey,
but people know that. YouTubers make videos about it. YouTubers do deep dives about it. Like, and then that spreads. And less people might be using Twitch now.
Right.
As a result.
Well, I think, the excuses, all these tech companies really grew during the pandemic, right?
Right.
They hired so many people.
Right.
And, now their excuses, well, people are out in the world again.
Yeah, that bubble is gone.
Yeah. But it's like, they knew when they were hiring these people that they were going to let them all go in a few years. I don't think that there was much of a, that they were like, oh, this is going to sustain forever. We're just this size permanently now.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Twitch is in a weird place. I don't know that they're going to get back to 500 plus more staffers in 3 years.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think that at all. I don't know. I think if I had like any kind of... What do I think Twitch could do to make their business more profitable? There are certain games on Twitch that lots of people play and your most successful streamers play the same 4 or 5 games. So maybe get involved with those developers and those publishers a little bit more than you do. Try to make it more Twitch friendly or get your property put into the game or supporting the game. You know what I'm saying?
Amazon loot boxes dropping from the sky.
Yeah, we hate that crap as gamers. We hate it. But if they want to be successful, that's
they have like Twitch drops.
Yeah.
Which are like ways for you to connect your game accounts to like Twitch, and then if you watch streamers like playing a certain game, you unlock like free skins and content for your game.
Do you remember how big Twitch's presence was at E3 the last couple of years?
I remember they had like a booth where they were doing like interviews with developers all day.
Yeah, they were doing that. They had a big old sign, not even like a cardboard sign. It was like a big sculpted sign.
Yeah.
And wasn't that where they were giving away energy drinks and stuff like that, or was that a different place?
I wouldn't be shocked.
It was like
they have a yearly
something.
Convention. They have TwitchCon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they're present at like other conventions.
So I'm sure they're still using that.
Yeah.
That thing at TwitchCon.
So yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember them giving away a lot of stuff at E3 on the show floor. So
God, I miss those days.
They had money. They had money, a lot of it.
Yeah, marketing budgets are not what they used to be anymore. Yeah. That's one of those things where it's like, in order to, I don't know, maybe save other jobs, they reduce marketing budgets like tremendously. And that's probably one of the reasons why E3 doesn't really exist anymore, because nobody has the budget to do E3 like they did pre-pandemic.
Right, some $2 million.
I mean, maybe booth. Nintendo does, but you know, most places don't. All right, we're going to jump into the next layoff story, which is Unity. Mm-hmm. And if you thought last year's layoffs were bad...
Yeah, this is just so depressing.
This is insane. Unity has announced that they are letting go of 1,800 employees, which is roughly 25% of its workforce. The layoffs were not exactly announced, but they were found in a regulatory filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which says the layoffs are part of a restructuring and refocusing of its core business, which I'm not really sure what that is these days for Unity anymore.
Core business is just
doesn't really seem to be game development anymore.
That's just an excuse word.
Unity says they also expect to take a substantial hit in the first quarter of 2024 as the layoffs roll out. Costs are likely to rise from employee transition, severance payments, and employee benefits that they have to cash out.
Real quick, I just had a second thought about what I just said. If there's any positive, silver lining, I guess, to come out of these layoffs and last year's layoffs at Unity, maybe they will start cutting back in the engine with all the bells and whistles and data collecting BS and all the other crap that they think they're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll get back to like actually working on a viable game engine.
Right.
You know, as opposed to having all this other stuff.
Yeah, I feel like they've gotten... I mean, a lot of people still use Unity. I mean, this last year hasn't been great for Unity. They seemingly burned a lot of bridges. A lot of developers are trying to move away from Unity now.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some developers that are like too ingrained with them to pull out. Like Genshin Impact's not going to switch to Unreal.
Yeah, especially developers who have bought source code licenses and built their own version of Unity.
Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like, you know, there was a time where Unity's appearance was like, this is the engine for indies.
Yeah. Oh, they were. They were right there.
They were the indie game.
Yeah, they were the reason people took off. Like new developers took off. Like you could now make a AAA looking game.
But they've grown, and their attention is anywhere but small developers now.
Yes.
100%. Now they're like going after military contracts and like all these.
And that's all fine. I mean, I can see that. I can see having other ambitions. That's fine. But you can't lose sight of, I guess, your core business, and I guess that's what that actually means. You know?
Is that what that means, though? Because I wonder what they consider their core business now. I don't know. I hope it's video games.
I mean, their core business, objectively, is being a game engine. But whether they see that or not, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, 1,800 less. So if you're someone who's
this is more than like last year combined. Yeah. This is like what the heck?
Last year they let go of less than 1,000 employees, just shy.
Yeah,
of
it was
1,000.
Like 400 or 500.
Almost 900 people total.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's between two, right?
Across two major layoffs. Yeah.
So double that all in one go.
Yeah.
This year.
I'm sure there will be another round later this year.
I mean,
but if you're someone who's like deep into Unity, uses it a lot, like even a big developer, like the Genshin Impact, they use Unity, right? Right. So they probably are constantly back and forth with Unity about like, hey,
they're going to be one of their most featured, sponsored, friendly developers.
But if you hear that the people that you pay to use their engine for your really expensive, massive game, they just let go of almost 2,000 people.
Yeah, that doesn't
confidence.
That doesn't bode well. No.
Now you're like quivering. Like, do we need to go somewhere else?
And this is me. I'm not Genshin Impact, but this is me. I'm invested in Unity. I was taught Unity in college. This is how I started. You know, with any kind of game development. I am invested in Unity. I want Unity to be successful. I've spoken to a lot of people from Unity at different events and stuff. This is like just for me alone. This is
I mean, do you think Unity could, like, almost implode and go back to being, like, okay, we're just gonna...
Like, it goes bankrupt or something, and then, like, the people that take the property or whatever, like, start it again as it originally was?
Yeah, like, hey, like, we're making a game engine for, you know, an indie-friendly game engine. Because that's what Unity was.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't go that far to the point where they have to go through a bankruptcy or something.
Because how much time a day do they... Like, if you need support...
Yeah.
Like, is there anyone there for you?
Yeah, no, I agree that...
we would like you to pose your question to the community on the forums to get support.
Unity needs to be focused on development and support. And look, maybe they are telling us this when they say... Which says layoffs are part of a restructuring and refocusing of its core business.
I hope so.
Maybe that's what they mean.
Yeah.
You know, that we're getting back to development and support. That would be their core business, like, objectively speaking. They seem to be delusional, so I can't say what they are actually thinking.
Right.
But objectively, their core business should be and is development and support.
I'd be curious. I mean, we don't know where these 1,800 people are. Are they engineers?
They could be in a different country. They could be...
I mean, they're probably from all kinds of places around the world. But yeah.
But 1,800?
Yeah.
Like that...
A quarter of the company is gone.
That's...
Or will be gone over the next month or two.
Either they're cutting, like, a whole arm off that they no longer want to pursue, or they're closing a facility somewhere. That's a lot of freaking people. Yeah. Like, that's all of last year's layoffs doubled in one layoff.
Yep. And we're just getting started.
Yeah.
2024 has just begun. You know what my favorite part of all this is?
You say that, but, like, how many people are freaking left? Like, can we see them?
I think I read last year there was, like, 7,000 people employed by Unity before, I think, any of the layoffs occurred.
Before this happened?
Maybe before the May or November ones.
Okay.
So...
Oh, here you have the numbers right here. Yeah, May 2023, 600 employees gone. November 23, 265 more employees gone.
Yeah.
And now...
January
Psych, we weren't done. 1,800 employees gone in January.
Yeah.
What the heck? What is going on at Unity?
I don't know, man.
I mean...
They don't use the term right size like Twitch did.
No, they're not right-sizing. That's for sure.
Maybe they're capsizing.
Yeah, I think they're capsizing. I think...
But you know what the best part about this whole thing is?
When the hell does the CEO leave?
He's gone. He's already gone. John
Riccitello's gone.
Left. So now this is just the new guys.
So who is doing this?
I don't have the names here for us to easily reference.
But it's the people, like, the temporary replacements?
I think there's an interim guy still.
Okay.
But then there's also that guy you mentioned.
Oh, the one they have lined up to be the next permanent?
I don't know that he's the next permanent, but...
I have to look at the notes, but from that episode, that was like a long time ago. But yeah.
So how do you think Wall Street?
Obviously they all invested.
Yeah. So Unity's stock jumped 5%. So of course Unity lays off 1,800 people, and they get rewarded.
Right. Yeah, they get rewarded because that means less overhead, I guess.
Yeah. Even though they're expecting now to report losses in the first quarter of 2024. Yeah. But I guess investors are looking at the long-term picture.
Look, you know what I'm thinking? This is all repercussions for the BS they tried to pull.
I think so. Yeah, I think Unity's knee-jerk reaction, or their stupid decision, has now cost...
Riccitello's decision.
Yeah, almost 3,000 people their jobs.
It's his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that them turning off the entire Unity development community, everybody, from big to small, just caused them to completely...
Yeah, and as like the developers stopped using Unity, then now they have less clients.
Not only like did they turn them off, they were shutting down discussions on the Unity forum.
Yeah.
About the topic of Unity's stupid new install fee.
How do you think John Riccatello is sleeping on his waterbed on his mega
he's
yacht?
sleeping great. This is what he does. He lives for this. He laps it up, and he gets to sleep on a bed made of money for it. I'm being like supers. Yeah. I don't actually feel this way, guys. Like about like, you know.
Oh come on! You can safely crap on Riccatello.
I'm crapping on Riccatello, but I'm not. I'm being like extremely cynical, I guess. Yeah. More so than I usually.
That's okay. This is something you're passionate about.
Yeah. When it comes to Unity, this is just unacceptable. How hard is it to develop and support your game engine? And when new technology comes along, support it. Develop support for that. And just keep it going. You don't need all these other different licenses, licensing fees. You got to implement all this data collection. I don't need to be worried about like data. I have to be connected now.
Right.
You know?
And now you're responsible for connecting your customers.
Yeah, I have to be connected to the internet to use Unity if I want to use the latest versions. Not even the latest version, two-year-old versions.
Right.
You have to stay connected. I'm using like 2017 stuff, guys. That's me. That's like my personal choice.
Is there like any fear of like your projects not being able to like just PS5 accept 2017 projects?
So one version will... So 20... Okay, I'm using... Okay, I'll be fully transparent. 2017.4 is the version I use. It is the last version to include Vita support.
Okay.
And that was why I stuck with it. Because, you know, I plan on releasing on Vita.
Right.
I'm not prepared, nor do I see the purpose of upgrading or updating and going through that whole process again with Seraphim. Because, why? It still supports PS4. Still supports Switch. Like, all of that is included.
Right, and if you can build to PS4, it works on PS5.
Right.
So...
Right.
You know, there's no PS6 yet, so there's no real concern.
Right, exactly. Eventually, I will have to update.
Right.
But support for different systems come from one version to a later version somewhere, depending on the lifespan of the console or platform.
All right, we've got another news story that we want to kind of throw it back to. Mm-hmm. We talked about this back in November. This is the Completionist who was allegedly stealing or not donating over $600,000.
He was committing charity fraud.
Yeah, that's
plain and simple.
So back in November, we touched on this, and since then, a bunch of stuff has come out. But for those of you that don't remember, Rick, give us a little refresher.
Yeah, so initially, Carl Jobst, the YouTuber, along with some ordinary gamers, came out like collaboratively and exposed the completionist, Gerard, for having basically $600,000 just sitting in a bank account that he touted would be going straight to dementia research, you know, and he was very, all the super chats, all the bits, it's all going to go, well, I don't take any of it.
Right.
Like, you know, that was his whole shtick during his whole Indie Land streams.
Where he was supposedly raising money.
Right.
And, you know, he made it sound like every year he would donate that year's money.
Right. Yeah.
But it turned out he had never donated any of the year's money ever.
At all. Like, it's all, like, for the past 8 years is all sitting there.
He even had, like, specific charities that he would mention on stream.
Oh, there were specific charities that he said he's one of the main beneficiaries or whatever. Yeah. Funders or whatever. Bull. He never sent them anything.
Never a dime. I don't know how he got away with it for this long.
I don't. I have been very kind of benefit of the doubt, play fair. I guess part of me likes him. I really don't like him as a YouTuber. Never really cared for his content. He eats while he's freaking playing games.
That's annoying.
Yeah, I just can't get into his stuff. But I still wanted to be fair to the guy. But now I'm done with him. He's just...
It's hard to see any defense that he ever put up.
Right.
Or the only defense he ever put up was this, 20-minute sort of apology video.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to call it that.
It was so bad. It was basically him kind of acknowledging and kind of apologizing for the situation. And then...
It's like, I'm sorry I've done this to my fans.
Right.
Put you in this weird place.
Denying certain other stuff. And then threatening the 2 YouTubers that exposed him with defamation suits.
Right.
At the end. And that isn't... Yeah, it was a really bad apology video.
I'm surprised he left it up.
I am too.
And didn't take it down and
Well, he took something down recently.
Right. Well, let's not jump there quite yet. So he puts out a reaction to Yobst and Some Ordinary Gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And goes by Mudahar.
Mudahar, yeah, that's his name.
And in response to...
By the way, guys, both those YouTubers are really good. Just putting that out there.
Deep expose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Style channels. I've since... I think this story has done a lot for them too.
Yeah.
Got so much coverage.
I mean, Yobst hits big ones.
Yeah.
Bigger than this one.
Yeah. He hits million view videos.
Yeah.
With some regularity.
And then Some Ordinary Gamer, he too, I saw a video recently where I need to go watch it, but he was saying he found a lost Grand Theft Auto game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I gotta go look at that. But he gets big stuff too. He's also for frontline exposing stuff.
But so they put out a response, or they put out their own response videos to Gerard's threats of suits, where they basically tore apart his apology video.
Yeah.
Exposed even more BS that he was perpetuating in the video.
And then just dropped the Discord call that they had with him.
Yeah, so before the initial allegations became public, they had a lengthy, I think it was 18 minutes or 12 minutes, something like that, with Gerard, where and they had posted snippets of it in their original videos.
Yeah, well, because both of them had done their initial video and then 2 reaction videos up to this point.
Right.
And throughout those, they keep reiterating the same points and they keep using the same clips from that call.
But this time they just released the whole.
Yeah, they just dropped the whole call,
the whole audio call,
just raw.
And in it, there's some pathetic moments, I would say, that specifically come from Gerard, where he's basically begging. I consider it begging.
I don't call it begging. I think he's asking them for advice, which is misplaced. 100%.
He's basically saying hey guys, what do you want me to do to make this all better so you don't ruin my life? He basically says those words.
He kind of is saying, you
guys have all the power.
He said, I
right
can't
now.
stop you guys from making your videos. You're going to do it anyways, but tell me what I can do to make this situation a little better. It's kind of where he was coming from.
And they tell him what to do, don't they?
Well, they tell him basically donate the money ASAP.
Right. Yeah.
And I think Yobst kind of said, as far as your public image, I don't know what you can do.
Right.
He just said, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, that's on you.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to not publish their video.
Right. They're going to, they're balls deep. Both of them are balls deep in investigation.
And so we should mention that right before the apology video went up from Gerard, he did donate $600,000 to one of these dementia research places. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to bring that up. But this was after the Discord call, so this would be the next event in the timeline.
No. This was before the full... Yeah, this was after the Discord call, but it also happened after the initial videos went live. Mm-hmm. And Gerard went silent for weeks.
Yeah.
It was 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
Before his apology and donation.
Yeah, you're right. You were all right. So right before he dropped his apology video, the day before.
No, I think same day.
It was the same day.
It was timed, very timed, you know.
Yeah, he donated the $600,000.
A press release went out from the place that it was donated from.
Right.
So it was sent to, of course, all the video game.
Of course. Just
very coordinated, strategic.
This is what scummy people do.
Yeah.
Just the tactics alone, the strategies alone, is what we see from people who are.
Well, he put this apology video out, and it seemed like he thought like, "Oh, it's all good now. I'm gonna go back to normal."
Right.
But the overwhelming majority of the public didn't.
No. The only people who maybe that he got his way with there are his like dedicated followers, because they are invested in seeing things go back, because they just want the old completionist back.
Yeah, I guess. Which is crazy to me that it's more important that you get the channel you liked back than it is...
Well, not everyone's an activist and into causes and stuff.
I mean, well...
Some people just want to live their lives.
I get that, but it to me it's just like, okay, so you don't care that all this money that he took from people...
I mean, that doesn't mean they don't care. It just means, I'd rather things just... all this drama, I don't like it.
Yeah, but it comes at it from a perspective of like they were like, yeah, you get them, Gerard, you sue them,
Yeah, that's called a fanboy.
That's like a sycophant.
Yeah.
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 Like there were those kinds of supporters who were like, I always believed you.
There always will be, especially with channels that have been around for that many years. There will be sycophants.
I think a lot of time it's like these people who wish they were him,
right.
Or like they have their own little channel that gets
they
views or whatever, and they're like, one day I'm gonna be like he's my idol. I'm gonna be like him.
They like attach their personality to him, like like they see themselves.
They identify with him.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much the end of the story until last week.
Yep.
The Completionist went silent after his apology for several weeks, but he came back and did a stream on Twitch last week. I don't know if he's done any streams since, but this was his first game stream where he was playing a game.
Yep.
And doing kind of sort of his usual content.
I didn't watch the stream, but what I got from what I did see of it was him a lot of like trying to garner sympathy. Go ahead.
Let's mention he talked briefly. He didn't touch too much on the controversy.
Yeah.
But he did quickly talk about. He was asked some questions by his chat, so I guess he felt it, worthy of mentioning real quick. So Gerard, everyone should know, has his own like production company. It's called That One Video Gamer, TOVG. So when I mention TOVG in this quote, that's what I'm talking about. So he says, TOVG as a company has downsized significantly. I decided to basically close up shop for a majority of the team. There's still a team that's with me, but it's much, much, much smaller. And now individuals are looking for jobs.
Right.
I'm rebuilding. That's what it is, and if people don't like me and don't want me to be around, that's okay. I'm sure some folks do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that in this quote, he's basically blaming Jobst and Mudahar for people losing their jobs.
Right, yeah.
Because these guys made videos about me.
Yeah.
I've had to let go of half my, 3/4 of my team.
Damn my exposers. Like, that's his position.
Yeah. And he's trying to frame them as like the bad guys.
Yeah.
The reality
that's
is
a narcissist.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
And then the next thing he says, at this time, I'm not going to talk about anything going forward, just because of the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I can't talk about. One day, I'm sure I'll provide more concrete receipts.
Real quick, he owns the production company. There's no DNA or
I think
NDA.
in this next quote, he's talking about the overall drama.
Okay.
So at this time, I'm not going to talk about anything going forward, just because of the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I can't talk about. One day, I'm sure I'll provide more concrete receipts and clear things up, but as of right now, I'm dropping it where it is. So that's him saying that, like, the story's not over.
Right.
I'm gonna clear my good name.
No, I think he's just kicking the can, and he just wants it to go away. He wants people to stop talking.
I mean, he was becoming like, he was living his dream.
Yeah, he
was friends with all these indie game developers.
Yeah, freaking celebrities coming over to his events.
Celebrities were coming over to his house. And he was being put in as like an NPC in video games.
Yeah.
I should mention, he was put in as an NPC in this game called Sea of Stars, which was sort of a Chrono Trigger-esque style game.
Do you know who developed that?
The people who made The Messenger.
Oh.
Like a Ninja Gaiden kind of game a few years ago. I cannot remember their name.
Gotcha.
So he was Gerard the Constructionist.
Right.
This NPC who would, I guess, help you build like a town or something.
Right.
They took him out of the game and just replaced him with a generic NPC. You know how much that probably killed Gerard?
For someone in his position, I could see really idolizing developers and feeling like any kind of presence in that game would be...
I know he's really close with the guys at Yacht Club Games.
Oh, really?
The makers of Shovel Knight.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I even saw like a couple, like one of their like high up employees like defending him on Twitter and just
really,
yeah. Wow. Like I was like, are you really trying to
I see.
He's like, Gerard's a good guy. I've known him for years. Like when that's your defense for someone, that doesn't.
Yeah, I'm talking about a person's personality doesn't.
Like, I'm glad he's been a nice guy to you.
Right.
But that doesn't mean he hasn't been.
Some of the nicest people have been serial killers.
Right.
You know, like. That doesn't...
And I guess what I'm saying is like if I woke up and I saw the news that Rick was being accused of something horrific.
Right.
My initial reaction to myself is I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm not necessarily going to go online and start replying to his accusers like, you're wrong. Yeah. He didn't do that, or, you know, he didn't steal and embezzle money, you know?
Yeah. I would want for your, like, just well-being to not get involve yourself so that you're not caught up in any kind of crossfire.
Right. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't make... But, I have a hard time when people, like, get accused of things, or, you know... Like, it comes out that maybe they've done something they shouldn't have done. And then you have all these people, like, friends and family, and, like, oh, there's no way. He's a great guy. He's always been so nice to me.
Right.
I mean,
That's sure not him. That's not him.
Yeah. I don't believe it. You know, right. These guys are just out to get him. This is an honest mistake.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I don't know.
These like multiple hours worth of like deep dive videos just got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. They even spoke to him, but you know, he was under the influence that day.
Right. It's just unbelievable.
So yeah, I mean, the story is seemingly over for now, but maybe one day, maybe those suits will come out.
We still got to come back to the Twitch stream that he did.
Okay.
So he, were you done talking about that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was very much, according to like other people covering it, trying to garner a lot of sympathy. One big key takeaway was that he was heavily moderating the chat. Like, his mods were just anything anyone said, just delete. He didn't really talk about it other than just saying he doesn't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And he'll talk about it at a later date, maybe. Take his word, trust him, bro.
Right.
And then I just wanted to quickly highlight what some people like.
Oh yeah,
people who were watching the stream and stuff were tweeting regarding this, but just the stream. And I'm also going to say that on Twitch, you have to your subscription is monthly. It's not like YouTube where you click subscribe and you're subscribed until you unsubscribe.
Right.
Your subscription is monthly. So,
when you say subscribe, you mean like if you pay to become a subscriber.
Right.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can just get alerts when someone goes live for free on Twitch.
Right.
But if you want to support, you subscribe to them.
Right. Yeah. But this was the first time he had streamed on Twitch in a month.
Oh, okay.
So, his time was coming up for his subscribers to become unsubscribed. And so this was really, to me, and to a lot of people, him just getting on Twitch to stream on Twitch so that he can get all those subscribers back real quick for another month, and then delete the stream.
Right.
Which he did.
He didn't save it. Someone else recorded it, thankfully.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I've seen footage of it already. But here's just what... I have 4 examples, but here's what people were saying, and all good points on Twitter. Frank Delano says, the absolute effing nerve you've got going live on Twitch and restricting the comments. You're a genuine B-word.
Oh, it was probably restricted to people who pay to subscribe.
Yeah, it was. It was. And not only was it restricted to people who paid, you had to be a subscriber for a certain amount of time. I think.
Basically, just his sycophants were in there.
Exactly. He heavily curated audience here. Another... at Cheap Dude says, the Completionist coming back to Twitch and having mods delete chat comments criticizing him for his charity fraud shenanigans is just peak comedy. Man has no spine and is really trying to pretend nothing happened or what he and his family did was just quote-unquote drama. You know, this is the sentiment.
Yeah.
At Cerebus J says, holy crap, the Completionist is live on Twitch. I can't believe he has the gall to show his face after the hashtag charity fraud. So, I mean,
he really, I'm guessing maybe he's grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and not having income for 2 months has probably hurt that.
Yeah, now he's just like, what can I do? And he just leans into his fraud tendencies. Right. And gets on Twitch and gets his...
So I think he just thinks that, I'm just gonna keep doing it again and I'll build it back up. And goodwill will return eventually.
He went on Twitch to get donations and subs.
Right.
And then just delete it. We'll see him again in a month. Yeah. For the same purpose.
For the next stream.
And last comment I want to read. This is important because this is how people feel, right? It's sub only, talking about the stream. The amount of people happy to see him streaming and throwing away money, gifting subs, is ridiculous. I guess charity fraud is okay by the hundreds of them on now. So just calling the people viewing and donating okay with charity fraud.
Could you imagine giving him money?
No.
Like after, even if you really like him and you just want to see him return.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to go back to his old content that he used to make.
No, I'd be disgusted by his behavior.
Like, and he's like, hey guys, donations are open.
Yeah, right. Here's a donation.
So, I mean, there may be more to this story down the line. If we hear anything, we'll update you guys.
Yeah, sounds good.
So this last story is actually something we recorded last week, but the episode just went crazy long, so we're going to attach it to the end of this week's episode. It's a really good discussion. It's maybe one of the most deepest discussions we've ever had on a single topic. So we're going to insert that into the episode now, and we'll see you guys next week. This one is all about Square Enix. The president of Square Enix reiterates their commitment to blockchain tech and aggressive AI expansion in their New Year's message. Takashi Kiryu, president of Square Enix, the same Takashi Kiryu that we saw speak at the Final Fantasy 16 pre-launch event.
Feet away from him.
Yeah. Passionately talking about his youth and Final Fantasy and how now he's made it his
and the career. Famicom and his time with the Famicom.
Yeah. He released a New Year's message for investors, employees, and fans alike, loosely kind of detailing Square Enix's intentions for the new year. We're going to pull some of these quotes from his New Year's message and just kind of look at them one at a time and just kind of go what comes off the top of our heads. So the first quote I want to look at is where he says, in terms of new business domains, we previously identified 3 focus investment fields, namely blockchain entertainment / Web 3.0, AI, and the cloud. Last year, we redefined our overarching mission and goals for these 3 fields. We are currently working to modify our
optimization.
No, oh my god.
Organizational structure and
optimize our resource allocations to support these efforts. That was embarrassing.
Yeah. Go back to third grade.
Organizational. Jeez. Okay, so let's look at this one right here. Yeah. So we've known already, and he's basically reiterating that, hey, we're still looking at blockchain stuff. We're still, the AI thing is kind of...
All right, let's go back a little bit.
Okay,
so before we started this podcast, one big news topic that had happened the year prior, or...
Yeah, like 2021 or something, 2022.
Was that Square Enix sold off a bunch of properties to pay for and invest in blockchain technology and Web3 technology.
Well, okay, it was never explicitly stated that they sold them to pay for that, but they were sort of two things that got conflated because they sold things and then they announced that they were going to be investing into things.
Yeah.
So some people took it as like, oh, they sold those to invest.
To invest, right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm glad you said that. There is no evidence to say that the selling off of Square Enix's properties went directly to pay for their investment.
And the kinds of things that they sold off were Western properties that they had purchased years prior, like Tomb Raider and Hitman.
They sold Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, they no longer have Tomb Raider.
Dang. All right. Those are big.
Yeah.
Hitman too?
Hitman as well, yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. Anyways, I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
I know they sold a lot of stuff.
So, yeah, when people were saying, like, they sold Tomb Raider to make NFTs,
right,
people were understandably upset. That's the conflating.
Yeah, that is a conflation. That's not...
It's not necessarily what happened.
So, anyways, yeah, I just wanted to, like, clue in the listener to
we should do that.
What happened there.
So yeah, like he's saying here, they've already talked about how they want to get more into blockchain, Web3, NFT, crypto based kinds of things. And AI in the cloud were kind of more recent additions, and he talks more about AI in this, and we'll get to like more of a specific thing. But I want to draw our attention to this last sentence. We are currently working to modify our organizational structure and optimize our resource allocations to support these efforts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of sounds like...
I think that sounds scarier than it is. But
yeah, it sounds scary. It sounds like they want to take people away from making traditional games to go work on these different
and break up a bunch of project teams and siphon off a bunch of properties that aren't going to contribute to this ambition, or
I think we have evidence to the contrary.
Yeah,
we just saw a new Mana game get announced.
Yeah. I don't think that's it.
But I mean, I do still wonder: are like certain teams are people going to be more divided? Like, are we going to see less of those kinds of projects because they have more people working on these kind of side future ambition projects?
I think we're going to see the same properties with the same franchises and the same installments coming out. They're just going to integrate new technology.
Oh, man.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I think, the direction.
I mean, NFTs...
Yeah, you don't like them.
Well, no. I'm not here to talk about whether I like them or not. I'm just talking about how they're sort of... Some people are looking at them as sort of like a future version of a microtransaction, right?
Yeah, I think that's just... There's a lot to learn there, I feel like, in that conclusion. Like, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as a loot box. Like, that's not...
No, but it's like you're buying an in-game item, right?
Yeah.
So then it's also like, well, okay, now there's the potential for you to sell that in-game item maybe to other players.
Yeah.
There's the potential for you to maybe... hypothetical potential for you to carry that item over into a different game, maybe.
Right. Sure.
Like, that's where some people are kind of looking at the application of blockchain technology. Now, for me, I wonder why do they have to do that with the blockchain? Like, why isn't that something they just can't do with a Square Enix account?
Well, because the blockchain adds a token to it that makes it a unique non-fungible item, digital good.
Right. So everybody has the same... visually, it looks like the same Moogle helmet.
Right.
But yours is, has a special serial code, essentially.
So this is... I'm not gonna go the NFT bro route in my explanation here and say you just don't understand, you just don't get it, but because I'm not on that page with this topic, and I'm also not gonna sit here and be the one defending Web3, right? So just heads up about that. But I will say that I am positive about Web3. I want to see Web3 prosper, and I don't need to defend or define NFTs to be that way, to feel that way.
Okay, so I'm not asking you to do that. What I'm asking you is, what is the incentive for Square Enix to do something that has traditionally already been done through like an account kind of system, or something that could be done through an account system? Like, there's no reason your Moogle helm from Final Fantasy 15 can't be your Moogle helm in Final Fantasy 16. If they sold something like that and you couldn't carry it over.
Yeah, but there is a difference in that the Moogle helm is one of infinite. Right. And then, with NFTs, it's not one of infinite.
Right, but functionally, it's still the Moogle helm, right?
I mean, maybe for your purposes.
Okay. So, but, I mean, what is there to gain for Square Enix?
Well, if there's a marketplace for the buying and selling of... something like a Moogle helm is going to be a common item enough to where every player is going to get
All right, well, let's say the Moogle helm is only available for 24 hours.
Okay.
And so...
Forget the Moogle helm.
Okay.
The Oraculum or whatever, sword or whatever.
Okay.
One of 20 in all game files. Like, there's one of 20. There's only 20. There's a competition for it, or a dual tournament or something like that. And 20 of these swords were given away.
Okay.
Now, each one of those is going to be numbered. And if there's a marketplace, if there's like a bazaar or something in the game, that I'm making stuff up, okay?
Okay, I see. Okay. So you're saying like Square Enix, players could sell their things at this bazaar.
Yeah.
And Square Enix would take a cut.
Right.
Sword
as
sells,
any platform would.
This sword, you're right, any seller would. This sword will then go, let's say it sells for $50,000.
Sure. In Bitcoin or Ethereum, it would be Ethereum.
Whatever. Why is that a positive thing, though, for gamers? I mean, it's positive for the guy who won it and sold it, I guess.
Yeah. That's why. There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for people who want to be ambitious, which gamers usually do.
I mean, there's competitive gamers, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we've seen...
I like what this does for the completionist or collectionist gamer type.
But that's you.
That is me.
So, I feel that... Okay, and now we're adding in sort of an online-only component to games, too? Or, like, they would have to maintain this connection to this NFT.
Yeah, well, the blockchain is different than a server, and that's the whole point of having a blockchain.
Right, but, like, there's still... The game still has to maintain a connection to the blockchain in order for this sword or helmet or whatever to get moved around.
But even if that connection is disrupted, that sword doesn't go away.
The sword doesn't go away.
Right.
But or
none of your stuff goes away.
Right.
None of your NFT owned, Web3 owned stuff goes away.
Okay.
It exists on the blockchain forever.
But let's say they stop making games that support that particular NFT or that particular sword. Let's refer to it by the sword. Yeah,
you're thinking in terms of servers again. So, okay, all right. So let's go with that. Let's say Final Fantasy 20 freaking comes out, and all the Final Fantasies from now up till that point support this NFT blockchain technology and items and trading items and selling items, etc. And then 20 comes out and they're done with it. They're done with the blockchain. They're moving on. You can still access Final Fantasy 17, 18, 19 and sell that stuff. That stuff still exists. Don't think about this like a server. A server, your data exists on the server and they can shut it off. A blockchain is not like that. No one person owns a blockchain.
Right, but I still see them needing to maintain the connection to the blockchain for the individual games. And I feel like that as time goes on...
No, that's where wallets come in. It's not the same thing. you're that's
How
not
do
the
you
same
think
thing.
this works when you get PlayStation involved? Like, we're talking in a PC space right now.
Yeah.
So now the marketplace, PlayStation's getting a cut of that $50,000.
Okay, if this ever happens,
Yeah.
you bet that MetaMask and all these other wallet providers are going to be able to like
integrate with. Okay.
Exactly. There's no freaking way. It's just going to be access in the game, and that's it.
Okay.
You should be able to send this stuff to your wallets. People would demand that to the point where the game wouldn't succeed if they didn't provide that. There's no way.
I mean, I've played MMOs and games where there are like auction houses and you can sell your items and things like that, you know, to other players.
Right.
And, you know, Diablo 3 famously, I mean, it wasn't on the blockchain, but they had a brief, for like the first year of the game's existence, they had a real money auction house where you could sell items you found on an auction house and people could pay real money for them.
Right.
And it went famously bad for them.
Sure.
And they got rid of it. They took it out of the game.
That was probably before its time.
Probably was.
I think something like that could be done successfully
their
now.
excuse was that players, for like Diablo 2, were already doing that. They had organized like, you know, third-party websites where you could find people and sell items.
Right.
So Blizzard's excuse was, well, if we do it this way, we'll make it safe for the players. Nobody gets scammed.
Right.
And of course they make money.
Right.
Because they're taking 30% or whatever.
Right. So, so something like that, successful or not at the time, would be the precursor to something like this.
Right.
But this is that, but way better, because these are... The whole Web3 thing changes the way digital goods exist. They're no longer the digital goods that we think of that are temporary and don't exist. And once you turn off the server, the disk stops spinning.
Right.
They don't exist anymore. They're gone. This fixes that.
Okay.
NFT Web3 fixes that problem that digital goods have. They now exist.
I guess if you're someone who buys digital goods,
Yeah.
maybe this could be seen as a good thing. I'm just not really into the idea of players feeling pressured to, especially the completionist type players, feeling pressured to get involved.
Well, then you should have had a big fit when in-game purchases and loot boxes and all that came out. Because
don't you remember us talking about that passionately a decade ago?
I know you did. But I'm just saying that this is not anything new in that regard. It's very new. The technology is extremely new and extremely I don't want to call it revolutionary. I'm not religious about it.
Right. I mean, like, so the thing with like an in-game purchase, right? It's like it's capped at a price.
Yes.
But when you start mixing in NFTs, then the price can be whatever the market will pay.
Yeah, in an auction type of atmosphere or environment, yes. Yeah, it could become stupid. It could become millions of dollars for a single digital good. That could technically happen.
I mean, even like I have a hard time when any game, like let's say a $60 game comes out, right?
Yeah.
And they're asking $50 for an outfit for your character. That makes me groan and like just like.
Yeah, so that and the reason that you're groaning about that, or the reason that like that doesn't seem right, is because that thing can just be copied. Like that's just one of infinite units of that cost.
See, I don't know that making it limited or unique via some kind of serial code would make me groan less. So
the limited, if they only had like 50 purchases of this digital good, the reason that still seems wrong and doesn't make sense is because that's just an artificial number that they threw in there and they just stopped selling the item. But that doesn't make it any less infinite. It's still a copy of the same thing sold 50 times with an artificial limiter on it. This fixes that. This is like digital goods almost made to be like physical goods. And they exist on a network of nodes, thousands of nodes. no one person owns, no one can shut it off. This is different. This is different than a server. This is different than any digital good anyone has ever purchased. Web3 is a big thing I'm positive about. I'm optimistic for. I want to see it prosper. I understand that people don't. Like, I understand that people don't see how the implications with it. And
I just see it benefiting. I guess I just don't see the benefit for the majority of players in certain cases. Mm-hmm. I feel like it is another way for, in these kinds of, like, especially the gaming kind of area, like for artists and stuff, you know, that sell NFT art, people want to pay for that. Great. I'm glad it's going to an individual artist.
Right.
But like when we're getting corporations involved, like I feel like it's always going to take something that was maybe had good intentions and use it for
the thing is that
nefarious purposes.
Okay, so imagine digital goods that are, you know, tokened and exist on a system outside of the server. Okay? Now imagine that they are backed by real money that people use to purchase cryptocurrency, even these corporations, to pay the gas fees to mint those NFTs.
Okay.
So they're backed. They're backed in the same way that your green paper in your pocket was once backed. It's no longer backed.
Okay, so let's say there's a game where you can't sell it. Like, so you buy this NFT and they don't give you a way to sell it in the game.
Okay. So you have it.
You have it, but that's all you can ever do with it. I guess there's just so many different possibilities.
That's a lot. I mean, so that's a good question, but again, I don't see that being feasible for any company without implementing wallet connection. You know, like wallet. I don't want to say connectivity because there's going to be connectivity. It's just implementation in the game interface.
Now, do you think this is something that's actually... Do you think a lot of these companies are just looking into it, and if it takes off,
a lot of them are spectators. A lot of them are spectating. I think all of them are spectating.
Do you think anybody, like any big players in the game, are actually like truly like preparing something for the market, or do you think it's more of like we want to be ready in case this takes off kind of a thing? So that way we're not slow to react?
I think it's both. I think that the shareholders of these companies are probably positioning themselves that way, where they just want to be at the forefront and have the tools and technology at their disposal to be in the first wave of whatever big shift takes off.
Okay.
But I think on a design level, like the game designers, the engineers that are, you know, under those people, they're probably thinking more innovatively about it.
Now, do you think this is something... Well, no, I'll save that question for later.
Sure.
Do you think this is going to... And I'm asking, as I know you're more...
I'm open-minded about...
Well, you know more about it, so that's why I'm asking these questions.
Okay.
Do you think this is or do you believe this is something that will take off? I know we had like a kind of a boom a year or two ago with like NFTs specifically.
Yeah. There was a big spectator bubble. It was a $1 million spectator bubble.
And then it kind of went away.
Yeah.
I mean, NFTs are still a thing. They're still out there.
We had a few moments during that phase where certain musical artists, I believe Snoop Dogg or 50 Cent, one of them.
There was a bunch of musical artists that were releasing like
albums. NFT albums, stuff like that. So, I mean, I think that was a good introduction to the world.
And it seems like it's gone quiet.
It has gone quiet.
Is it because people are like retooling?
Well, yeah. There's going to be... I'm not going to predict the future.
Right.
I know that NFTs that Justin Bieber owned and purchased for $3 million or whatever are now worth like $10,000 at this moment.
Oof.
But that doesn't mean that it won't go back up to something. Maybe not that high, maybe higher. I don't know.
As long as he doesn't sell, right?
Right. That's true. You can laugh, but that's true. If you don't sell,
you haven't lost anything.
You haven't you don't have access. You've lost time, I guess.
Yeah.
Time with that money that you otherwise would have had, but you haven't lost any dollars, you know. I totally get people's like pessimism, I guess.
Yeah, for me it's just the integration with games because I don't think that any developer or corporations thinking about it from the angle of like, oh, we're thinking about the players with this.
Yeah, well, that's the case with anything. They're not thinking when they make the games themselves. Are they really thinking about the player?
I mean,
the game designer might.
Yeah, I think there's like a marketing aspect of it where it's like we have to sell this game in order to, like, artists want to continue to make games, right?
Right.
In order to do that, they have to sell so many copies.
Yes.
So there's a certain amount of give and take that has to happen. Right. They have to make a game. Maybe they're not making the game 100% that they would have wanted to make, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they had to make it to appeal to the market.
I mean, even Square Enix and Final Fantasy and the big franchises, they cut systems from the design.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, dude, either time, budget, like so many reasons why things get cut from games.
Yeah.
They've spent enough. The game needs to launch,
I think the integration of Web3 into games, if it happens, will also have that same element of give and take. There will be, the potential of making money and the prospect of making a lot of money. And I think there will be, here's something cool and new we can do that players will enjoy.
I mean, I could see there being games that are designed around it from the ground up, potentially being interesting and innovative and cool. I just think there's got to be a way to do it where it doesn't involve people spending thousands of dollars.
My best example of how Web3, and this is my own personal thing, my best example of how Web3 would work best, like hands down, is a game like No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Where you own your own planet or you own your own section of a planet, and that is accessible to all players, but you physically own it.
Who's the guy who made Fable?
Peter Molyneux.
Okay, I believe he was selling plots of land.
Yeah, but see, that's fake. Okay. That's just fake digital stuff.
I thought it was part of a game, though.
Yeah, I mean, it is part of a game, but the game exists on a server.
Okay.
It's just a digital.
But I thought it was on the blockchain.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't actually know.
Yeah, like that's something he started the last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you might be right. Peter Molyneux is the kind of developer or game designer who is infamous for making promises.
Right.
High as the sky.
Yeah.
And not following through.
I don't think he has
not even releasing something in some cases.
I don't think he has the ability to do a lot of what he would like to do.
Yeah.
So he envisions it and comes up with these great, grand ideas in his head.
He's responsible for like you said, Fable. I think also the Civilization franchise or something like that.
That's Sid Meier.
That's right. You're right.
His name is on the game.
He has one of those God mode type games.
Yeah. Black and White or something like that, I think it's called.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump to the next quote here.
Yeah.
On the publishing side, which consists of our sales and marketing function, we are working to enable greater global collaboration to promote the shift to digital. Mm-hmm. I guess we don't have a huge amount of context around this quote.
Right.
But the first thing that, of course, comes to my head is getting away from physical games.
Yeah. And I mean, that's where you and I are going to fall right in line with each other.
This is like...
So I'm going to be honest with you, because I'll spoil something here. We're going to read a total of 4 quotes. That's the one I have a problem with.
Yeah, this one is... this one's scary. I mean, Square Enix already doesn't release a lot of their smaller titles physically to begin with.
Right.
If we start seeing even their bigger titles go digital only...
I will say this as a game collector, Square Enix is the one that I want my physical. Like, it's the one.
Yeah.
I have a tattoo of a property of theirs.
Yeah.
It's the one that is like the premier for me in my collection. like I have the Final Fantasy cartridges. Because I see their games as masterpieces. And I have such a problem with this quote that this is the direction they want to go in. And I mean, I love and respect Square Enix because of the way they've been and because of the way they are now. And I understand the mentality that they have. I feel connected to them in a way.
Right.
They're looking forward. They are very traditional, and they are self-aware. It almost seems to me, to that bias toward traditional ways of doing things, to the point where they're like, we need to look forward. We need to be cutting edge. We need to be right up there with the other big players, and we need to be looking forward to the future and upcoming technologies, and we want to be on the front.
Maybe they're getting too ahead of themselves with some things.
Basically, that's how I feel.
It's like they're too eager to leave physical behind.
I am not opposed to digital stuff existing. I'm not opposed to streaming existing. I am opposed to those things replacing what is actually good.
Yeah.
And this is sad.
Yeah, this... I loved them at the Final Fantasy 16 launch event, and then I read this, and I'm like, oh no, they got the wrong guy.
This sucks. Because I like that guy.
Yeah. Not much. I mean, our position is clear.
Yeah. Just go back to any episode.
Yeah.
Pick
about one. Physical versus digital, and so this quote is distressing.
Yeah. I don't want to see a digital-only Square Enix. I really hope that this direction falls on its face.
I think there was a quote that I don't have here, but they talked about wanting to provide more access to their back catalog of games, and maybe that will be part of this digital games that have already been available physically in the past.
Something like a Square Enix virtual console or something.
That, or just more re-releases, but maybe they don't release them physically. Maybe they just put them digitally. I mean, think about all their PS3 games. Mm-hmm. They're all stuck on PS3.
Yeah.
Very few games have escaped PS3.
Right.
Because it was such a weird console to design games for. Mm-hmm. You can't just easily port it.
Vita, too, falls into that, I feel like. And there's reasons for that.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a lot of games be on the Vita and the PS4 at the same time.
Right. That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
In the later Vita years.
Yeah. But there are definitely some stuff that's kind of still stuck there.
I had something to say about this, and it was important too, but I forgot.
Well, if it comes back to you, we'll shift back over to it.
Oh yeah. Specifically, I want to talk about the word shift.
Okay, I'm glad I got that for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I said that intentionally. I was going to say, as they shift to digital, we'll shift back.
Okay. Yeah, so that's actually what I want to talk about, that word shift. That is the word that I have a problem with. You could have this whole sentence and not use the word shift.
Right, because to promote digital.
To promote digital, yeah, that's fine. Promote digital. I have no problem.
To shift means to move away from. To
move away from something else.
Yeah.
And that...
So that tells me that, it's happening.
Yeah.
They're going to... Maybe it'll backfire on them and they reverse course at some point.
Yeah.
Well... I think they're going to... I think there's still so much... Even if it gets to the point where it's 20% physical, 80% digital sales, which would be a sad day to get to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's already there for some
We're already
games.
Close, I think.
I mean, we're probably 60-40, I think.
Okay.
50-50. I mean, I think if you're Nintendo, probably might still skew just as much physical as digital.
Sure.
But for PlayStation and especially Xbox, it's definitely leaning more towards digital purchases now. Mm-hmm. But I still don't. But I mean, even 20% of sales, wouldn't that? Are you really willing to throw away 20% of sales?
I don't think that it's. This is, I mean, I guess I'm getting a little conspiratorial here. And I'm talking about the industry as a whole.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Square Enix. I think Square Enix is trying to fit in a way. I don't think it's so much about them looking at numbers. I think that they want the control. I think that they have been looking at used game sales for a very long time. They really hate that stuff. They really hate piracy.
Right.
Like, to the point where they invest millions of dollars into DRM development. And I think they don't really care if physical, it makes up 20% or 40%. They just want to move away from physical,
and they want control.
Yeah. I think they just want to be able to guide the player's hand, you know.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm at the point where I refuse to buy a digital game at full price. Mm-hmm. Like, if I have to wait 2 years till the game is 60% off, then I'll wait that long.
Unless the digital version is set at a lower price point than the physical version.
Which is something that, if that was ever going to happen, it would have been done years ago when we first saw that.
You're right.
And I remember publishers talking about, like, oh, well, you know, since it'll be better for the players. That's what they were saying. That, like, oh, we won't have to pay all these things, so it'll be cheaper for the consumer.
Yeah. Right.
And then that never happened.
Yeah. So they, you know, the industry likes to make a lot of excuses. They like to tell you something to sell an idea.
Right.
You know, this is the way government works. Like, this is the way everything works. They get you whatever they say, whatever they need to, and then they roll it out, and it's not what they say.
Yeah.
And you know, I think in the case of, like, limited run games, you'll spend $35 on a physical version, but the game itself is $12, you know, digital.
Right. Or, you know what I find happens a lot? When a game goes up for sale physically at limited run, usually it's a game that's already been on the market.
Right.
At that same exact time, the game is always seemingly steeply discounted on, like, digital storefronts where it's like 60% off, 80% off.
Yeah.
So it's like I could spend $35 on the physical game, or it's $2.99 on the PlayStation Store or whatever. So it's like you almost feel stupid buying the physical game.
Right. And if you don't care, like we care.
Right.
There's no way you're going to convince me. You can make the digital version free. I'll download it if it's free, but I'm going to buy the physical one.
I mean, yeah, for, like, if it's something I want to support, something I want to have, I mean, I could see myself as like, well, I'll just buy both.
Right.
You know, I'll buy the physical.
Right.
You know, have it sealed, you know, nice part of my collection, and then I have access to the digital game that I can, you know.
A game has to be exclusively digital for me to buy digital.
Right. And the thing is, nowadays, you never know.
Right.
Like, if it seemingly at some point, every decent digital-only game gets a physical release.
Right.
There are still exceptions from time to time.
I mean, the biggest, I guess, example/regret on my part is not buying Sonic 4, like Sega's Sonic 4, the crappy one.
Yeah.
I should have that. I should have had that.
That was digital only, right?
It was digital only, and it's gone forever.
Oh, they don't sell it on...
I don't think so.
Oh, I own it on PS3.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
Because that's a piece of history that I don't have,
and it's gone. That was delisted.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it makes sense it's not around. It's not a great game.
No, but it didn't look good for Sonic.
It's something that I wish I had.
Yeah. I remember being excited for that.
Yeah.
And then the first level was wonderful. And then everything after that was garbage.
I wouldn't call it wonderful. The state machine itself of Sonic.
Okay, yeah.
And the controls sucked.
It was sluggish. It didn't feel like Sonic. But I mean, like, just zipping through the stage.
The graphics looked decent. For a 3D, 2D Sonic game, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Definitely came out during a dark time for Sonic too. Like they were struggling to figure out what to do.
That was before Sonic Mania, and I think that had a big influence on their decision to make Sonic Mania and contact the developer who was a modder of Sonic games. But anyways, we're getting too off topic here.
All right, so these next two quotes we have are both about AI, but I'm gonna read one at a time. We'll briefly touch on the first one, then we'll touch on the second one, then we can maybe talk about it as a whole, and then we're going to have to wrap up this episode.
That's fine.
But let's start with the first one. We also intend to be aggressive in applying AI and other cutting-edge technologies to both our content development and our publishing functions. In the short term, our goal will be to enhance our development productivity and achieve greater sophistication in our marketing efforts. In the longer term, we hope to leverage those technologies to create new forms of content for consumers, as we believe that technological innovation represents business opportunities. All right, I'm going to read the second one real quick. It's related enough. I believe that generative AI has the potential not only to reshape what we create, but also to fundamentally change the processes by which we create, including programming.
Mm-hmm. So I think Takeshi Kiryu is a smart guy. I think he's a really intelligent guy. He's young.
Yeah.
And so he feels a lot less beholden to old traditions than past CEOs, not just of Square Enix, but other.
I bet you he's got more pressure on him than like any Square Enix CEO before him.
Why do you think that?
I think Square Enix is just kind of in a unique transitional period. I think they got someone young because they wanted someone with young ideas, but I'm sure he's still beholden to a bunch of older people.
Oh, no doubt. Well, they're public. I think they are. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can just imagine. I think his tenure as president will either be very short or maybe very long, depending on how his bets pay out.
Right.
But yeah, I could see him being gone quickly, potentially.
Yeah. He's making shifts, like we talked about.
Okay, so let's talk about AI. The thing that interests me the most is him talking about using it, not so much for marketing. I don't care about that as much.
Sure.
I'm more interested in him talking about using it for game development.
He specifically gets into talking about AI's application in game, as well as, and he's very specific, AI's application in game development.
Yeah. So as a game okay, so this is AI is like the newer, hotter thing. Like Web3 is almost old news now. AI is maybe part of it. They totally coexist. Sure, yeah. They'll work together at some point, or they already are.
Yeah.
But like AI is the really hot thing right now, specifically.
Everybody, it's the buzzword.
Yeah.
You put on your product.
AI has been a thing for
remember when
decades.
Cloud was...
Yeah, cloud was the buzzword, yeah. So artists are, generally speaking, not a fan of like this generative AI stuff.
Yeah.
Because...
unless you're a technical artist.
Sure. I mean, like a traditional artist.
Sure.
Like I see a lot of people who draw art online and they post it, and now they have to deal with accusations of their art being AI generated, or like now AI art is getting like so good that unless you really look at it, you can't even tell it's like AI generated anymore.
Yeah.
And so a lot of artists who will spend 20-40 hours on a piece, when some generative thing will spit something out in 5-10 minutes for you.
Right.
So as someone who's like the people developing games, some of them, I paint background environments. Might want you to find a new job because AI is going to paint those clouds pretty soon.
No, not quite. I totally understand.
I don't think that most game developers... I mean, I think there are some game developers who are excited at the prospect of this, especially smaller solo developers who could use AI to help them.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, you got to understand that AI is also trained on people's copyrighted works, and that, like, is this AI really even doing anything itself, or is it just...
Well, it's a machine. Right. By definition, a machine doesn't do anything for itself.
Right, so it's using stolen data to produce works for you.
How did you get there?
Okay, because AI is these
they're trained on copyrighted work. What are you talking about?
So these databases that these AI companies have put together to train.
This, you've seen it.
Yes, they've talked about it.
The assets.
These AI companies talk about the assets. They just let it loose on Google Images.
Okay.
So, which is all mostly copyrighted material.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what you have is a stroke of pixels sampled from 10 million different copyrighted images. You have a pretty original image. No one can claim ownership of that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like these people's things were crawled without like their consent.
You know what?
I mean, I don't know what... There's nothing to be done about it. It's already been done.
I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound cold of me and all that. That's fine. It's fact. The people who ran the telegraph hated the telephone when that started coming out. They probably felt the same way that a lot of these people do about AI.
I mean, last year we're talking about thousands of people losing their jobs. AI is going to cause thousands of people lose their jobs in the games industry, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, natural selection is brutal.
I guess, but I see it impacting artists probably more than anyone. Like programmers, not as much, I don't think.
Yeah. Programmers would have an edge.
Yeah. But like the art people are, I think, the most vulnerable.
So here is what I think, because you talked about background artists, and I said probably not.
People painting rocks and stuff.
So nobody is painting just rocks. That position doesn't exist.
Right. Like, I know there's not the rock guy.
Yeah, but like if we're going to get this specific, like it has to be real. So the person who paints backgrounds, no AI can just a developer, a publisher cannot just take an AI and have it just write its backgrounds forever. You can't. That's not.
Well, I know someone has to.
Yeah, someone needs to stay on top of new art style development, art direction,
right?
Background art direction, painting new, training it to make the new. Like if you're running the same AI for your next game with the same samples and assets, and it hasn't learned anything new, that's already like one is too much, in my opinion. I think.
Well, I mean, we're seeing these AI companies come up, and I'm sure they're going to continue to update their model.
Right, but they're going to need their artists still. They might need less artists, you could argue.
Yeah, I think significantly less.
Sure.
I think you're going to almost have like, you might have a team of 10 now, and it might wind up being 3.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I say, natural selection is brutal.
Yeah.
And that's not me being like, yay AI.
So, I mean, okay, this is a little off topic, but like, the whole idea is, like, in a utopian world, right? Like, man is free to create art, music, whatever.
Yes.
And, like, machines do all the work, do all the hard labor, right? In a utopian society.
Yeah, but there's no definition. You're not playing any what's hard work? How do you define hard work? What is
like
that?
Manual labor.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So you want to limit machines to just manual labor? Then goodbye computer.
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that like things that like are 9 to 5s.
Yeah, sure.
Like those go away and are just done by machine.
Okay.
And then man is now free to create. Just be creative.
Right.
And enjoy creations.
So you want to see machines pack your Amazon packages, and then man does like all the stuff that's intellectual.
Essentially, yeah.
Sorry. Like
No, I'm not saying that's what I want to see. I'm just saying that's what a utopian something that's not achievable.
Mm-hmm.
A utopian society.
Sure.
Where it's just like...
Yeah, so you want men just writing books and making films and like doing all this...
In an ideal world.
Right, okay.
Wouldn't that be nice? You'd just be free to work on your creative pursuits?
Yeah, but what is the artist who makes machines? The programming artist? What is the technical artist?
Oh, no,
like,
I mean...
He makes machines.
Yeah, and that's something he's passionate about doing.
Right.
And then he does it for essentially the greater good of... humanity.
Right, but he makes his machines to sample works and then combine those samples and things get more intellectual and do math.
Right.
Better than humans.
I'm just saying, like, if we start discouraging people becoming artists because machines do it all for them.
We have machines because there is art.
Right. But what I'm saying is now we're getting to the point where it's like the reverse, where it's like the machines are going to do the art now and you don't need to do it anymore. You can go to McDonald's.
Yeah, but okay. So there's a shift, right? So let's say AI is coming in for the kill, right? There's going to be massive layoffs where hundreds of thousands, millions
like
of
affecting creatives specifically.
Sure, yeah. What's going to happen is there's going to be a correction after that. Okay. People are going to just come up with the next phase.
Could you see the correction being that people reject AI created works? And that they want to, almost like how people don't want to support like mass manufactured stuff now. They want to support like artisan handcrafted stuff.
Right. So there will be some of that. Yeah. Definitely. How much, I don't know, but I think a lot.
Yeah.
People are going handmade stuff. The word handmade, something that is handmade, is going to have a much higher value.
Yeah.
Going forward.
It implies that.
Yeah. Aside from that, though, I don't think AI is patently the superior. It's what's going to happen.
Okay.
If we have a machine that can make a person on the screen with full voice and full motion capture and do everything an actor does, that's going to take over. I'm sorry. Like, that's just, there's no way it's not. You're going to have legislation blocking it and all this other stuff. That's all going to just expire. It's going to take over. It's too powerful. There's going to be a shift. There's going to be a correction. People who are creative and artistic are going to come back around and learn the AI and then improve on that and then make themselves more powerful again. Like, this is what telephones went through.
So, okay, you're seeing it as more of like, instead of like doing the actual creative work, you become more of someone who is good at inputting prompts for the AI. Like, that's the person you're going to be looking for?
Prompts?
So, like, people prompt AI to generate something. Right. So you need someone to be good at writing those prompts for the AI.
Sure, I guess. I mean, AI, you can argue games on the NES, enemy patterns, etc., enemy behaviors is AI. That is AI.
Right.
Especially in Pac-Man.
I mean, we're talking about generative AI here, though.
Sure. Same thing, though. I mean, all generative AI is AI that's taking data or taking readings, input, and putting it into a table or a list or something and storing it. Right. That's all that is.
I understand that, like, the Pac-Man ghost enemy was creating a certain direction that they walked, you know?
Right.
But, like, I mean, that wasn't really affecting people's jobs or bottom lines at that time.
Okay, you're making a lot of leaps here.
What I'm talking about is the stuff that's going to have a lot of people in the games industry lose their jobs.
Yeah. I think
so. I mean, if you're an employee and you're hearing this, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, what do you want me to do? Okay. Look. Here's what I have to say to people.
Okay.
Learn the stuff. Learn the crap.
That's probably a good idea.
Freaking learn it. Step up, and something's happening. Right. Act. Right. Counteract it. Like, get up. Learn how AI works. If you're an actor, or I don't know if an actor can do that, but if you're a programmer or an artist, especially a digital artist, you better start learning AI.
Yeah.
I would love to write my own AI. I have ideas for one that are pretty unique. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but sure. I embrace it. Because what else do you do?
You're right. I think if you want to stay employed, and you want to be, helpful, useful, then...
you know what? Things happen. If you're a coachman, if your trade, your family legacy was being a coachman, guess what? You're out of business. You've been out of business for 100 years,
right?
Because we had the automobile, and all of a sudden, horses were illegal to be on the road.
Yeah.
Which they were on the road for hundreds of years before that. And that happens. That's called evolution.
Okay, so what do you think do you think a lot of employees are excited hearing this? Like, I mean, do you think that in the industry, because, I'm not in the industry, so I'm not thinking from someone who's in the industry and their perspective.
Sure.
Like, do you think people are like, oh God, AI is going to be such a great help to us? Or do you feel like people are maybe feeling differently? Like, because I could see where an artist could use it to maybe, instead of starting with a blank canvas, you start with a little bit of work done already to start manipulating.
Yeah, but I mean, AI is going to create a platform that can then be innovated upon. Yeah. And you can end up with something that's like some double piece of artwork or something. Like it's.
I mean, I think if someone is taking a base that AI generated and still doing things with it, they're still an artist.
Oh, absolutely. AI is not going to replace human art.
But you're not worried that that people who, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to say haven't earned it or don't actually have the skill are going to be like taking from people who deserve to be there instead? I mean, like, of course that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
That's been the freaking case for 30 freaking years.
Yeah. I would just feel, I don't know.
I
wouldn't want to be in that industry.
I think you're really, like, being influenced by, like, stigmas and stuff like that. And I'm not criticizing you.
Okay.
But I do think that, like, a lot of your feelings toward AI might be more...
I mean, I follow a lot of artists on Twitter, and I see how it affects, like, them and their, like, mental state.
Okay, well, I know how the mental state on Twitter is on average.
I just mean, and it's not just Twitter, it's artists anywhere. Sure. But I mean, like, that's where I'm interacting with artists the most, I guess you could say.
Sure.
And it's just, I
mean, AI is not big enough of a standard right now to be threatening them.
I mean, no.
Short term.
No, I mean, not people who are actually, like... I mean, I don't know. I've seen AI generate some, like, incredible illustrations.
Yeah.
And then, like, people will look at them and they're like, well, they have, like, 7 fingers, and, like, weird stuff like that.
Yeah. It doesn't do well in video, I've noticed.
Oh, yeah, videos.
It has a ways to go.
Yeah. But, I mean, when it comes to, give me design a character that looks like this, and then it'll spit out some incredible image, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you have it do it in, like, an illustrative kind of style,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you know what? Well, I'm a character designer now.
Yeah, sure, okay, yeah. But here's the thing: that's here to help. That's here to help artists.
Yeah, potentially.
And the people who can't do anything are going to now be able to, quote unquote, do something with it. But if you're an artist, your specialty is creativity and innovation. And if you can't do that, if you can't do creativity and innovation and figure out a creative way to make this a good thing for you, then I question. Maybe you're talented, maybe you have a lot of skill, but you need creativity. You need innovation. You need to be able to take AI and what AI can do and say, okay, I'm going to use that to do this, and then here's what I'm going to do with that.
Yeah. So, aside from the art aspect, he talks about programming.
Yeah.
So, I know that's maybe even more... I've heard about, like, AI, like, you can literally say, hey, give me a script that does this.
Yeah.
And it'll spit it out for you.
Imagine what I can do. If I can just tell an AI, model me a building.
Right.
Model me a fortress.
Right. No, yeah, and I can see this being incredibly helpful for, like, indie devs.
Yeah. But that same, like, that's a formula. And that can apply to a big company too.
Yeah.
It's just humans need to adapt to it.
Yeah.
And people who question the unknown and get uncomfortable about the unknown haven't.
So, like, I mean, do you... Yeah, I foresee... it'll be interesting to see, like, the public... When, like, okay, this is the first Final Fantasy with a lot of AI assistance.
Sure.
So this is the first Final Fantasy game where a lot of things were generated by AI.
I mean, text to speech and all that, etc. The vice versa.
Yeah,
that's AI.
We've gotten rid of we have no voice actors on this.
Yeah, that's AI, but AI. That's been around for a long time, and that is AI.
I know it's just not usually used in big production. Like, sure, AI voices have been used in video games before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're even talking about. I've even heard like people theorize. Imagine an Animal Crossing game where, every NPC every little villager character has its own little AI, and they all. Like, you're never hearing something you've already heard before in an Animal Crossing game. Right. Every time you talk to an NPC.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a crazy concept that, like, every sound that a character NPC makes is going to be unique and never be replicated again. That's a crazy concept.
Yeah.
AI can be used like that to make true innovation happen.
Yeah.
And it takes a human. It will always, forever, till the end of time, take a human to put it into that
You believe that? That an AI won't ever be able to tell an AI what to do?
You may have an AI be able to tell an AI. You may have, like, parent AI. Because when I write scripts, I have a parent script and then children's scripts.
Right.
But it takes a human to write those scripts.
Right.
But,
I mean, once it's there, it's there. And I don't want to sound like Skynet,
right,
like anything like that.
It's never going to be that. I mean, you can have the artificial intelligence, you can have AI making decisions, but those decisions were all made by a human long before the AI made them.
Right.
The human sets the limitations, the human sets the standards and the expectations.
Who becomes accountable when an AI makes a decision that maybe wasn't a good decision?
The company that owns the AI, a human will be held accountable.
Okay.
There's no way.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
When, like...
No, they can't just be like, computer error, sorry. That's not going to fly. Some missile shoots and...
Exactly, yeah.
So, the company that owned that missile and the AI system is going to be responsible. They can't say, computer error, sorry. That's not going to fly.
I mean, we see people, like, not to bring up...
There was a glitch in the system.
No, not to bring up, like, modern events, but, like, so for a few years ago, Russia killed someone in the UK, right?
Sure.
They poisoned this guy with some, I don't know, guy and his daughter.
Sounds like something they do.
Yeah, and the guy died, the daughter lived. Russia never apologized. The UK didn't go and invade Russia.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Now, so Rick, tell us about injustices and how we can fix that.
No, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, like, there were no repercussions for anyone. Like, they just got away with that.
What does this have to do with AI?
What I'm saying is just like, like, oh, this game is buggy because it was made by AI, sorry.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay. So that becomes the audience's responsibility to be like, no, F you.
But I mean, like, I guess, there has to be a lot of you still need the developers, or at least the programmers,
right,
to...
okay, the shepherd is going to do whatever the sheep allow him to do.
Yeah.
And sheep just allow shepherds to do whatever. So
a lot of times.
People need to not be sheep.
Yeah. So, I do wonder if the public will embrace these projects, or...
When they're done with passion, I think they will. And when they're not done with passion, I think they will get rejected. I think they'll become AI trash, quote unquote, as a concept. Because we, with like the App Store, that was a big revolutionary thing. And then we started seeing a lot of trash.
Right.
And people knew.
Right. So you think people will be able to often tell the difference?
Yeah. I think that we will see, like, this is some cheap AI trash.
All right. Now, like, let's say Square Enix spits out a cheap AI trash Final Fantasy. Like, what? As a fan, how does... I know.
I can't see them doing that.
Okay, but let's just say it happens.
Sure, but at the time, how does it look at the time? Because we can look back at Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII and say, that looks like crap. But at the time, that was solid gold.
Yeah, you're right.
So...
I mean, I would never say it looks like trash.
No, I don't think so either. I love the way it looks.
Yeah, I mean, I want to play games that look like that.
Yeah, I want new games that look like that.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of like PS1-esque survival horror games. Yeah. Like that's like becoming a huge genre.
Graphically or just mechanically?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like they got the look.
Yeah.
And they got the the clunky controls that those kinds of games were known for. Anyways, I think we've.
So did we talk about this last one here? I guess
this one was talking about the generative stuff specifically.
So I mean that just makes infinite possibility. That just means infinite to me as a programmer, as a technical artist, as a fine artist. That just makes that generative AI just means infinite possibility. Like you can have every single spawn be brand new, unique, one of a kind, never to be done again. That's a crazy concept. That's crazy.
All right, I have one more question for you. So
imagine real quick.
Okay, go for it.
Imagine a random battle system like Final Fantasy. Because we're talking about Square Enix. Like every party is like randomly generated. Like every enemy party you encounter is randomly generated, and color is different, look is different, clothes are different, like games will not be limited to like a pool of like NPCs anymore. It's literally, and every NPC can be eyes, hair, nose, face, eyebrows, everything done unique from the ground up. That's crazy.
Yeah, see, these kinds of things feel like they would be really useful in like open world kind of games, especially
RPGs. Why do you limit it to that? Like you're putting it in a box.
Well,
this is a huge formula, like a huge thing.
I guess
that can be applied to everything.
I just think about the RPGs that I like, which are like lovingly handcrafted, and it's like the thought of a computer just making all those characters,
right?
And
so
all the dialogue,
yeah. So and
I'm look.
You can appreciate a floor that was cleaned by a toothbrush.
Okay.
But why do that when we have mops?
Sure.
Or buffers or big machines.
Then it's almost like, why create then?
What do you mean? This is huge. This is like, we just got handed a machine gun.
So, okay, if there was an AI thing that would make new Final Fantasy 7s and 8s all the time, just like new games like that.
Yeah.
That would thrill you to no end?
You think that they're just going to be pumping out a new game every day?
No, but I just mean like, hey, like we know people want to play games that are like this. So while we have the humans making Final Fantasy 20, here's like a classic style Final Fantasy game made by AI.
Mm-hmm. But there was a human there.
Oh yeah, there's a human involvement for sure.
Yeah, imagine how big that could be, like scope wise.
Yeah.
It could be never ending. That'd be crazy.
You mean the game itself?
Yeah, the game itself.
Like the game is still making itself while you're playing it?
Yeah. Or just going on, like, they could just be, like, they're no longer limited by, we're no longer limited. Yeah. Come on, see the pause, like, I want you to see it.
I do. I can see there being really cool applications. Like things that haven't been done before.
Final Fantasy VII is only as big as it is because humans had to make all that stuff.
Right.
Now humans don't. Now humans can design the stuff and model the stuff, and then AI can take that and be like, okay, I see what you're doing with this. Boom, 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 boom. Here's 10,000 more.
Here's a new scenario.
Yeah. Well, okay, writing. So writing comes down to tropes, and then tropes become formulaic, and then that's how AI works with writing stories and stuff like that. And that is gonna be harder to replace humans with, than like visual art, I think. That's a topic for another time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Then I'm a little. Yeah, I mean, I see, especially with art, how AI can be of assistance.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like writing and design, yeah, like I don't know, like imagine Tifa, like instead of Tifa, you have something designed by AI. Like I don't know.
I mean,
like that's the part where it's just like these memorable characters. Like I guess they could still be memorable if they were made by AI.
I think this is stigma. This is stigma on your part.
I think I'm old man yelling at cloud right now.
Yeah. I think you're old man yelling at, like, electric toothbrush because you like the old school way of doing it.
I have an electric toothbrush.
I'm being metaphoric.
I know.
But yeah, I see it. I see how this can be a positive thing for mankind. And hugely positive. It can also be used by people with the most power to take advantage of others. But that's every tool, humans have made.
I feel like that's guaranteed to happen.
Oh yeah, that's going to happen no matter what. End transmission.